There were a couple of good things on the show, but it was just a show.
It was, so I felt that one of the highlights was Samoa Joe. I don't know if he's a regular. I mean, Dio Madden's been gone for a long time now, so I have not gotten confirmation that he ain't coming back. But you can only sell an F5 for, what's the rule on selling an F5? Usually it's like 1 week off, right? I mean, this has been a lot of weeks now. But Joe, Joe's much better in the role and all that, so I think that helped a lot. So one of the things on the show is we have one Raw left before TLC, and we have 0 matches, even though we know matches for the pay-per-view, or matches that were scheduled at least on paper, weeks ago. If we were just a TV fan and a WWE website fan, we are, like I said, we are with one Raw to go. We know exactly 0 matches. There is not one match that was announced. There's a few things teased, but not a lot. What's teased is what, AJ Styles against Randy Orton? Or is it Randy Orton against Drew McIntyre? Is it a 3-way? I don't know. It's like, I kind of know those guys. I have no idea where Ray fits. I presume Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens are going against each other, but the way the angle progression is, it's like, they weren't there. And are they going to do one of those things like they've done in the past where it's, that we get to the pay-per-view and it's like, well, we're not quite ready for it. And then we'll wait till Royal Rumble or something. I don't know. Lashley and Rusev, obviously, they're doing everything in their power to make sure that the first match is on pay-per-view. By the way, did you see Starrcade?
I did not see Starrcade.
Okay, so the last man standing match, in fact, did not happen after all that. Lana got a restraining order against Lashley in the state of Georgia, and thus they did not have a match, and Bobby Lashley was ruled the winner via forfeit. So, in fact, it looks like the first match will be on this pay-per-view, even though they advertised a last man standing match. It's one thing if you were getting the WWE Network, because nobody got the WWE Network for Starrcade. It's like if you have it, you may want to watch it, but it's not like it was not advertised heavily or anything like that. But if I was like a fan, this is not unusual for WWE because they advertise whatever they feel like, and then they give you whatever they feel like, and they don't necessarily have to be the same thing. It's just a different mentality, and they get away with it. But it's just weird to me because can you imagine? I can't imagine any other company. Like Ring of Honor did this, people would just be so infuriated. If New Japan did this, people would be flipping out. If AEW did this, people would be flipping out. You advertise this biggest feud that you've spent more time on than anything in a last man standing match, which in WWE, those matches are usually really good and really brutal. And then you just go in there, it's like, oh, we got a restraining order, we're not having the match. And then they end up with Bobby Lashley against Kevin Owens, which we got again on television this week. So that was so that match we do know, but it actually hasn't officially been announced yet. And then the Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch against the Kabuki Warriors match, we know that, but again, this was just like another week. It's like we're peaking too slow on this stuff. I think that the key to this is also it's a statement of how little the pay-per-view shows mean as compared to in their minds a couple of years ago, where you would never go, you would have all the big matches announced 2 weeks out, and then you would fill the last week, you would fill some of the undercard out. This one, we filled nothing out. Nothing's up there on the board officially right now. And this is with one Raw to go. So, I think that's my key take on the Raw show is that, whatever the stuff is, we're real slow in building it. And aside from the Lashley and Rusev match and the women's tag match, There's nothing that seems like even like a lock for sure. I mean, I don't even know. And you know, Ray's the U.S. champion, which with Lesnar as the the WWE champion and not on the card, that means that Ray's the highest ranking singles champion. And I have no clue from tonight's show where Ray is. Though I thought Ray's match was really good. The main event 6-man, and then the Becky was the women's champion, but she's going to be in the tag match. And I think the story of that match is somewhat there. I liked the handicap match with Charlotte Flair. I thought the match did a great job of getting Charlotte Flair over while losing. They did that was a well done match. The 6-man tag was a well done match. But overall, I thought the show flowed pretty decent. I mean, because I wasn't bored during the show to the level that I often am in a 3-hour show. So that's a positive. I don't expect the ratings to be good with the, that Vikings-Seahawks game was real close. Went down to the wire. Two teams that are both strong. I know people who were going in just because of that game expected record low, which, we may get a record low. If we don't get a record low, I think it's honestly, if this beats 2.1 million viewers, I would consider it a positive. So we'll have to wait and see. That number will be out Wednesday afternoon. It'll be a day late.
Charlie interviewed Akam and Razor when they showed up and wanted to know why they attacked Kevin Owens last week, and they answer. She says, "I don't speak Punjabi or Albanian. Can you translate?" And they say, "You look lovely tonight." They don't translate. We got Seth Rollins coming out for his alleged apology.
So does that mean that, they're not taking her seriously?
That seems to be what that means.
Okay.
Seth is booed like crazy. He says he told everyone they sucked last week.
I got to mention something about Seth also. So, in the dark match, Seth teamed with the Viking Raiders against the OC tonight.
I don't even want to hear about it.
Well, I just told you about it. I couldn't believe it when I heard it. It's like, that was the deal. And he didn't turn on the Viking Raiders. There was no dissension, no nothing. They won. They won immediately. It was one of those quick, dark match wins. But yeah, the Viking Raiders teamed with Seth. Okay, so go ahead.
So he's booed like crazy, and he said, "I told everyone they sucked last week. Maybe that was harsh. I am telling the truth the way that I see it." He says, "This is my life. Folks in the locker room are like my family. I felt I needed to motivate them, get the absolute best out of them. Maybe I went a little overboard. I'd like to apologize. I want to apologize to the fans, the locker room, and to Kevin Owens. Can you come out so I can apologize face to face?" So by the way, he's apologizing here. They didn't even do the fake apology thing.
No, he did. He apologized. I think that maybe they feel an apology is a heel tactic. And that's why they didn't want to
I don't think so. I'm going to tell you why later when we get to it. But anyway, Kevin comes out, and he says that Seth smells like the rodeo. He wants to know if Seth's family includes AOP, who attacked him last week. Seth says, "I knew nothing about that." Kevin says, "I know you're lying. Your lips are moving. That smell I'm referring to is bullshit," which is not bleeped. AOP comes out. They speak Punjabi and Albanian again. They translate. "How about the two of us versus the two of you?" Seth says, "Sure, let's do it." Kevin says, "I'm not an idiot. It will be the three of you against me, so I'm not falling for it. If you want to do 3-on-1, let's do it right now." Seth bails, goes right up to AOP. They move out of the way. He goes through them. They start heading to the ring, but then just laugh and head backstage. So then Kevin says, "Well, if it's not going to be Seth or AOP, I'm all taped up, ready to go. I challenge anybody in the back to a match." And out comes Lana. By the way, there were 0, 0, 0 notes from Starrcade. It's like it never even happened.
No, yep, they did not. Well, it might as well not have happened. I mean, literally nothing of any, other than that thing that I said with the Lashley thing. They had the 4-way tag. I mean, it was 3 matches. They were all average. There's Ric Flair thing with Kevin Owens. That was fun. It was all right. I mean, Rick's mic didn't work well, so they had to switch mics. Whatever. The one thing on the Starrcade also was that it just, the atmosphere in the crowd was so weak. Even worse than like a TV. It felt like it was just a small dead crowd, and the Starrcade name meant nothing, even though it was a really loaded up show, even not including what they announced, but what they announced locally. For such a loaded show, it was. I mean, throughout the whole show, other than, they were really into Ric Flair, but that's always going to happen. But as far as like the like the Kevin Owens Bobby Lashley match was, just kind of there.
Gee, I wonder why they advertised a match and didn't deliver.
Yep. I've already said my piece on that, and I'm sure I'll say it 10 more times next year, if not more, because it's probably never going to change.
So Lana comes out, and they jibber-jabber back and forth, and they do Lashley versus Owens. So Lana's got two plainclothes officers out there allegedly looking for Rusev, and they do their match, and Kevin hits a pop-up powerbomb, and AOP comes out and just hits the ring for the DQ. So they beat down Owens, fans are chanting for Rusev, no Rusev, they drag Kevin up the aisle, and they take him backstage. We never saw Kevin again, by the way, although he tweeted that he escaped. So thank God I'm on Twitter.
I'm glad I heard that.
Yes. So they come back from commercial, Lashley's in the ring with Charlie, and he says, I know nothing about AOP.
Okay, here real quick on the Lashley thing. So Lashley, on Sunday, when he wrestled Kevin Owens, this dude was taped up selling all those injuries from, the stuff turned over on him last week on Raw. So he's doing this at the house show, which normally they don't, okay? But since I get on WWE. So this week, or the next day, on Raw, he comes out and all that tape is gone. I mean, he's got the arm, but I think that arm injury is legit. But all the ribs and all that stuff. So it's like, so he sells it on the non-TV show.
That's a TV show. It was Starrcade.
Okay. Well, the network, yeah, but how many people do you figure watched Starrcade?
Well, none, but it was a televised show.
Yeah. But on the big show, the week after the big angle, he comes out there, and did they even talk about Bobby, him being weakened from the attack? It's like he had this big attack, and he's fine, other than the one arm.
So he's doing this interview, and she's got their detectives here, and Rusev runs in through the crowd. He attacks Lashley, hits the Mashka kick. Detectives are just standing there, and he leaves, and they slowly climb the steps as Rusev flees.
They were so incompetent. I mean, I'm watching this going like, these are the most, let's get
to this. Lashley rolls outside, and he goes up to the detectives, and he's screaming at them, like, why didn't you do anything about Rusev? You're here to make sure Rusev doesn't show up. He runs and he attacked me. What are you guys doing? And one of them says, well, I'm a WWE fan, and I know you've got a restraining order, but this is the state of Tennessee, and we do things differently. They then arrest Bobby Lashley. The guy didn't do a thing. Rusev defied a restraining order for the third time, by the way, because it was last Monday on Raw, and then at Starrcade, and then tonight. Three times.
And Starrcade. Starrcade.
That's what I said, Starrcade. Three times this guy defied a restraining order, and Lashley is the guy that ends up getting arrested.
And Lana.
Well, Lana's like, what are you arresting this guy for? Why are you arresting Bobby Lashley? And she slaps one of them, which, quite frankly, I know I'm supposed to not like Lana, but, that was a babyface move after what these detectives did to Lashley. She slaps him, they arrest her, they throw them both in the cop car, and she says she's going to file a lawsuit, and she goddamn better file a lawsuit, because this was ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. It was
I don't even think in WCW 2000 somebody would defy a restraining order and the victim would get arrested.
I don't remember one like that. Maybe it was race profiling.
Hey, that should be the angle here, because nothing else makes sense.
Man, I tell you what, man, those Nashville police.
This was ridiculous. This was well beyond ridiculous.
I thought I was.
It's not even like Lashley shoved the guy. He was so mad, and then they arrested him.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Rusev not only defied a restraining order 3 times, but he resisted arrest last week. He tried to kill Bobby Lashley. Zero repercussions.
Well. I mean, kill is, I mean...
He threw him off the stage, and he dropped a giant metal light. He tried to kill the guy.
Yeah, but we see stuff like that in wrestling all the time.
It doesn't matter.
I mean, how many times did Braun Strowman attempt to kill people? And he was never arrested either.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but the idea, they arrested Lashley. It was like, what he was arrested for yelling at police, telling them that they weren't doing their job.
Which they weren't.
Which is true. Yeah, they weren't. Being very slow on the job. God. Yeah, I'm watching this just going like, this is... But, look, it's creative license. It's wrestling. It
sucks.
It's WWE, and it's WWE, and if you want WWE to make sense, you are going to be a very frustrated person a lot of the time. That's not an excuse. That's just the nature of their storylines. That's how it's always going to be. This is not George Scott. This is not Roy Shire. This is not, Eddie Graham, where at the end of the day...
It's not always going to be like this, because someday Vince will be gone, and I don't see stupid things like this on NXT. I've never seen anything approaching this stupid on NXT, ever. You're
right. You're right. I can't imagine anything. Yeah, I mean, maybe that. Yeah, I mean, look, there's no reason it has to be. It makes no sense. There's no reason. It's just the guy who's in charge doesn't care enough for it to make sense. It's not that big to him. Is that one of the reasons why the numbers are falling? Probably. Dave, is.
I guarantee it is.
Yeah.
Because you know what? I've been watching wrestling since I was 11. I'm 44 years old. It's my job. I watch every single one of these shows. And I only watch Raw and SmackDown because it's my job. I'd watch every other wrestling promotion I watch right now, but I would not watch this 3-hour Raw. You know how hard it is to run someone like me off?
Yeah,
it's hard.
Yeah, I mean, look, I use it for other things, so it doesn't really bother me because I'm going to watch. It's like that. I'm going to use that time wisely anyway. But
yeah, you could actually go to a real gym for 3 hours instead of just doing weights during commercials. If you didn't have to watch Raw,
that's true, and I probably would. Yeah, I mean, as far as like keeping me as a fan, with this product. Put it this way, it does. I mean, I'm in the routine, it doesn't bother me. I mean, I look forward to Monday, but I suppose like if I didn't have to, I could make better use of the time. Sure. I look at Garrett, they ran him off. The only show he watches NXT on delay, and he watches, AEW Live with me every Wednesday. And that's it. He's not watching SmackDown. He wasn't even watching. They even run him off of pay-per-views if there's sports events going on. So, and you know what? I would, like, I'm sure I would watch. I'm sure I would get the network, and I'm sure that there's a lot of pay-per-views I would watch, and I certainly would have watched the Survivor Series because I thought the build to Survivor Series was very good. But if you're asking me now, if I was a fan on December the 15th, would I be watching TLC if it wasn't my job? Today, based on how well that they promoted it, my answer would be a very strong no. It wouldn't even be a no. It'd be a strong no. It's like, I got other things. I got a million other things I could do on that day if it wasn't my job, especially that weekend, because you got, there's a UFC pay-per-view that weekend. There's Ring of Honor show that weekend. There's, what else? Isn't there NWA? Well, the NWA, I'll tell you what, that's another issue, but the NWA, the loss of Cornette, as much as they had to do it, that really hurts my interest in NWA. I've been trying to say, like, look, they had to do what they had to do. But, man, I mean, one of the reasons I really like that show was Cornette. I mean, was such a good announcer. I mean, but whatever. I shouldn't say that. It sounds so terrible to everybody. But it's just the reality.
Let's talk about Drew and Tozawa. They have a match. This was one of like fine. 10 matches like this on the show.
It was cool.
Which is a very basic match. Tozawa gets a little bit. Drew kills him. And that's that. Drew then cuts the promo.
It was very well executed on both men's part. Tozawa, you know what I mean? I mean, like, Tozawa's sell job on the Claymore kick was all-time great. Drew sold a little bit for him, just enough to make it competitive. I mean, it's a squash match, and it's a 4-minute match, but it was good.
Drew cuts a promo on Orton afterwards, tells him to come out here. They go to commercial. He stands there for 4 minutes, and then Orton comes back. Drew claims the reason he wants to talk to him is because Randy poked him in the eye in a chop battle last week. Randy hears this, and he's like, "You've got to be kidding me." Goes to leave. Drew says, "Don't you dare disrespect me." He says, "I do have a problem with you. You walk around like you own the place. You're a 13-time champion, future Hall of Famer. What gives you the right to speak to me like I'm a child? I am the most ferocious thing in WWE today. You're just a guy ferocious on social media." And he says, "Well, you got a reality problem.
He ain't that ferocious.
I've earned the right to do what I want to do. You haven't earned a damn thing. As far as I'm concerned, we're good. If you have a problem, we can solve it right now." The OC comes out. They yell at Orton for ruining AJ's life, and they go back and forth, and OC attacks Orton. Ricochet runs down to make the save. Drew has long since walked off. They beat him down. Humberto Carrillo runs down next. They beat on him. Finally, Ray runs down. It has to be a 4-on-3 advantage for the babyfaces to get the upper hand here.
Yep.
It should be 3-on-3. I don't 100%. Know why this is so hard.
100%. Well, I think the idea was that, that they wanted to make sure that Ray, that Ray and Carrillo and Ricochet all had to be in there because they were in the main event against him. So that was the reason that they all had to be in the segment.
Babyface met with Orton backstage. He says, "I appreciate the assistance. I did not need it." They show Kyle Busch and Michael Waltrip in the crowd, which played into something later. Tony Nese versus Aleister Black. Buddy Murphy's watching on TV. Buddy Murphy knocked on this dude's door 3 weeks ago after 8 months of begging. They still haven't had a match yet. I presume that's on the pay-per-view. And same as before, Tony Nese gets a couple spots. Aleister Black kills him with the kick. And that's the match.
Good timing of the kick.
Buddy Murphy promo says he's still feeling the effects of last week. He says that he's calm, cool, and collected. Aleister's a hothead. He needs to calm down. If he doesn't calm down, Buddy Murphy will be the one to calm him down. We had Andrade versus Eric Young. Same deal. Eric Young gets a little bit of offense. He looks good because he's very terribly underrated.
Eric Young they gave Eric Young a lot of offense in this match. Way more than I expected. And, Eric Young did look good. This was good. This was like a typical certain style of WWE, where it's the underdog guy gets a baby face, because Eric Young was in the babyface role, gets a lot of near falls over and over, kind of like with Andrade when he was with Sin Cara in those matches. So Andrade's selling everything, and then Eric Young, he missed the elbow. And then it was
Hammerlock DDT finish.
Hammerlock DDT finish, right. Yeah, after double knees in the corner.
After the match, Truth runs down. All the geeks are running after him, so Kyle Busch and Waltrip help him hide. And then Waltrip reveals a ref shirt. Kyle Busch rolls up Truth, pins him, and wins the title. Did they show the title change back on this show? Did I miss it?
In what sense? No, he didn't lose it back yet, as far as I know.
I think he did. It must have been on social media.
Really?
I believe so.
Okay. I didn't pay enough attention. I was too busy writing.
Let's find out if they... R-Truth regains the 24/7 from Kyle Busch in a Raw exclusive on social media. So there you go.
Wow.
Okay. All right, so then we had...
Well, I guess he was going to have to, but still... Shouldn't they have shown it?
Yeah, they should have.
That's bad. Seriously, that's bad. That's bad. You do that and you don't even... oh, well.
So now here's a segment I was going to talk about. Seth is leaving, and Charlie says, "Seth, you said that everybody here was part of your family. Why would you not help Kevin Owens when he was attacked by the AOP?" Seth says, "Well, I tried to help. I offered my help. Kevin Owens didn't want it.
That's
she
what he
says,
said.
People are skeptical of your apology. He says, what do you want from me? If I say one thing, they're going to hate me. If I say the other thing, they're going to hate me. It doesn't matter what side of the fence I'm on. These people are just going to hate me. She says, I want answers. He says, I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. Everyone's a critic. Not everyone has the guts to be a leader. They go back, and babyface announcer Jerry Lawler says, and I quote, once again, Seth Rollins telling it like it is. That was awesome. I'm like, they're booking him like a babyface.
No, I told you it's a Bret Hart thing. That's the model of what Seth Rollins is Bret Hart in 1997.
Do you realize that when Bret Hart was in America in 1997 and he was cutting promos talking about how much America sucked, that the announcers weren't talking about how he was telling it like it is and it was awesome?
Well, Lawler did that a bunch. It wasn't just that. It wasn't just for Seth. Lawler did. Lawler was almost like a heel in a lot of cases, and Joe was almost like a face in a lot of cases. And not just here, like in the women's tag match as well. So I don't know what that was about. I don't know if they told Lawler to, and it just could be Lawler being Lawler. You know what I mean? Not because Lawler, Lawler doesn't pay attention to anything that's going on here. He's just coming in and doing his job. And, he's smart enough to get, well, this me saying he's smart enough to get through it. This was probably not a good example of a show to do that. But Lawler can get through it because he's very glib. But, yeah, when I was watching, I just thought that because especially the way that Lawler was doing it, it felt to me like somebody just got a bug up and just was like, Jerry, this is what we want you to do, because and whatever, why the 70-year-old guy is going to be the heel color commentator this week, God only knows. It's Vince. What can I say? It's like. You can't expect common sense.
Rowan talks to the cage. Then we have Rowan versus No Way Jose. Jose got his conga line this week, which he needed because one of them tries to check out the cage. Rowan destroys the conga line. Jose tries to make the save. No Way Jose. Rowan kills him with the claw slam, gets the pin. Then Sarah meets with Rowan backstage. This was so horrendous. She goes, what's in the cage, Rowan? Doesn't answer. Eric, what's in the cage? Doesn't answer. What's in the cage, Eric? And then he leaves. This was bottom of the barrel stuff right here.
Maybe he doesn't know. Maybe they haven't
told him.
He
knows. Maybe he just doesn't want to say, which is abundantly obvious, but Sarah didn't get it.
Maybe he doesn't know. Maybe they haven't informed him what's in the cage.
Well, he's not going to tell her one way or the other.
Maybe it's a week ahead before they tell them. They don't tell everyone everything. They don't tell these people their angles ahead of time. In some cases, actually in most cases, you talk to the guys and you ask them where your angles going. What in the world
does this have to do with Sarah's gimmick question to Rowan?
I'm just saying that maybe Eric Rowan doesn't know. As far as why she did it, God only knows. But yeah.
Charlie's with the Kabuki Warriors. They cut this angry promo in Japanese. One of the better promos on the show, and I did not understand a word Asuka was saying.
Well, Asuka is a really good promo.
Then we have this match, Kabuki Warriors versus Charlotte, and this was the best thing on the show. They had a very, very good match.
I thought this match was so good. And it's like when people, wins and losses are important, and they should probably be more important. But the story overrides it in the sense that Charlotte Flair lost this match, but she came out the winner. And she was a perfect, for all the questions about is she a babyface, it was very clear from watching this that Charlotte Flair was the babyface here. Maybe Kairi Sane is miscast. Not even maybe. We know she is. But this match was very well done. I mean, on all accounts, Charlotte got her comebacks. She was on the verge of winning against two of them, but eventually, if she would have won, I would have been really pissed because it's like, even though it would have gotten a big pop and everything, it was like it would have been, it's like the singles woman should never beat the tag team champions at their own game. Unless, like if Becky Lynch had come out and distracted and then Charlotte got the pin, that would have been fine, but on her own with no help, the Kabuki Warriors had to win this match. And They won it. They beat Charlotte Flair, and in doing so, they elevated Charlotte Flair as a babyface. So this match was pretty much perfect.
Charlotte had Asuka in the figure 4, starts a bridge into the figure 8. Kyrie was a legal woman, came off the top with the big elbow, got the pin. And afterwards, Sarah's with Charlotte, and she says, Charlotte, do you regret challenging the Kabuki Warriors? And Charlotte says no, and she walks off. Sarah just stands there gobsmacked at this answer.
She was having a bad night there with unwilling wrestlers with bad attitudes.
So, who knows? I mean, it seemed patently obvious that, Becky runs in and either helps Charlotte win or whatever, but set up the tag match somehow for the... I think they figured this was so obvious that they just did something different, and now we have one less match announced for the show next weekend.
God, I mean, they have to do the angle next week. I thought when I watched this show, I thought we're going to be filled with angles for this pay-per-view because we're running out of time. We can do anything week 1. Now we got week 2, and we did a few things, but nothing focused. So, yeah.
No, the show's baffling because next we had a Viking Raider squash. They just go out there and kill these guys, which is fun. I love Viking Raider squashes, but between the Viking Raider squash and this random Rowan No Way Jose, and this random Andrade Eric Young match, and this random Aleister Black Tony Nese match.
Well, they're just trying to get guys over.
Dude, hold on a second. You can get guys over, but there's a pay-per-view next weekend. There were 4 matches on this show that were just let's do some matches, and then a guy's going to win. Okay, well, what in the world does that have to do with the pay-per-view? I need some matches for this show.
Not everything has to do with the pay-per-view.
You're right, Dave, but nothing had anything
I know,
to do with the
pay-per-view. You're right. They could have done this, but they also could have done the other matches where they focused on the pay-per-view.
I'm just saying, take out one of these completely random matches and shoot an angle for the pay-per-view.
You could shoot an angle with the pay-per-view in these other matches. Just get it done. Whoever it is. I mean, let's just say it's Randy Orton and AJ Styles, which they did do that, but then end the show with somebody challenging and going, we want you at the pay-per-view, and then, okay, it's done. We got it. We didn't even get that. We just got an RKO.
And we had Rey, Humberto, and Ricochet. Ricochet with his cringy promo. The only thing I've ever tried to do is prove that superheroes are real. Dude, are you kidding me? And then his comeback, the superhero count was 4 by the commentators in his one brief comeback. They do a match. The match is actually good.
I like the match.
All 3 babyfaces get a big comeback. Lots of great stuff there at the end. Ricochet hits Anderson with a dive off the apron, goes up top for Hurricane Rana, and AJ just blocks it. Styles clash off the middle rope, pins Ricochet clean in the middle. That was the match.
Well, I think that the mentality is that
we're done with every single one of these babyfaces except Rey.
That's what it comes across as.
When they did this promo in the back, they did this promo, besides the superhero stuff, the whole point of the promo is Rey is so honored to be here teaming with the future of the sport.
And then they do nothing to build the future.
I'm like, the future of the sport on this team, Rey, is you.
I know.
Not these other 2 guys.
Because they won't let them push the other 2 guys.
No, they will not let anybody get over.
Yeah. And
you have 3 weeks, no matter who you are. And if you don't get over in that 3 weeks, you're done.
Yeah.
How in God's name can we build up a professional wrestling organization where you got 3 weeks to get over, or they pull the plug on you?
Yeah, I mean, Ricochet, I was surprised, with the way that finish was.
I wasn't. No. I mean, come on. That's what they've been doing.
I know. But
Humberto had his chance, he got beat. Yeah, Ricochet's gotten his chance, time for him to get beat. Cedric Alexander had his chance, he got beat. Anybody else?
Cedric lost to Mojo Rawley tonight.
Oh, he's done.
Oh, yeah. Don't you think it's funny when I told everyone, because they were.
Oh, he's not being buried. Oh, he's feuding. He's feuding with even. And I realize.
No. I didn't say it until the AJ thing ran its course. When the AJ thing was over, that's when I said, okay, that he's done.
No, you're close. You said he was done, and then a week later, they announced that he was getting a title match against AJ the following week. And so everybody thought, oh my God, Dave is wrong, Bryan is wrong, he's going to win the title, blah, 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 blah. He got beat again.
Yeah, but now he's underground.
So AJ's,
well, no, the reason is like 3 weeks after all this, Cedric goes and tweets about how he's not being buried, and it's like, dude, don't you pay attention to your own career?
How can you be buried if you're having great matches with AJ Styles? I'm like, it's easy.
This was after that ran its course. This was if he was still having great matches with AJ.
No, but that's what he said. That was his explanation. It's like, how can people say I'm buried? I had all these great matches with AJ.
Eric Young just had a good match with Andrade
dude,
tonight.
People
Eric
have great
Young,
matches all the time and get buried. What the hell does that have to do with anything?
You've been watching wrestling longer than these wrestlers. That's the problem. And I've been watching wrestling longer than any of these wrestlers. And I've been following Vince longer than almost anyone. Just about anyone now. So I know, whatever. It's like Vince decrees things, and I mean, anyone, whatever. Yeah.
Well, anyway, let's do the end of the show here very quickly.
Cedric's a talented guy.
AJ celebrating afterwards, and then Randy Orton, who had been feuding with Drew McIntyre earlier, he shows up and lays out AJ with the RKO. So when the show was over,
I was confused.
I have no idea what's going on at this pay-per-view.
Yeah, I would say I have the same thoughts. I have no idea. I'm confused. So there you go.
Like, I know it's not.
I'm sure AJ and Randy Orton are doing it.
I know it's not Paul Heyman's fault because this guy has got an impossible job. But
it is. You know what?
This is now 2 shows with Paul Heyman, the Hell in a Cell, and this one. We're like a week away, and we have no idea what's on these shows. This is coming off. Remember that ECW December to Dismember where he was like that was into him.
Well, that was
over
like
2 matches.
That was like 13 years ago.
I realize that, but like,
yeah,
dude, let's get some matches here.
Yeah, no kidding. I know, especially when we had matches like 4 weeks ago, but they haven't even caught up.
So that was a Raw show, everybody. That was a Raw show. All right, well, we got to talk about Raw.
Yeah.
What'd you think of this show?
So the thing, like my key takes, number one is we finally got some matches for the pay-per-view.
Yes, we did.
And you can really see watching the show that, I mean, I know the guys Paul Heyman likes, and they were getting. Now the Street Profits Viking Raiders thing, I don't have an answer as to why that happened. I was like, absolutely, when that thing was over, I was just looking at the TV and ready to go like, all right, what the hell did I just watch? I didn't get that at all. But, you can see, because, his guys are the Viking Raiders, Aleister Black, Humberto Carrillo, who was Buddy Murphy. So they were all getting, they were all getting something. And Humberto Carrillo and Andrade, I thought, I wish that it was a better crowd because I thought they had a hell of a match, and I thought the announcers knew that their role, and the announcers did everything they could to put over that match and to put over, both guys really, because, it's very clear that they have plans for Andrade, but on this night the plan was for Humberto Carrillo to get over. So, all of that was done well. The show felt very long. I mean, it's the same 3 hours, but it felt long. And, I think the crowd hurt. Maybe it was that opening segment going so long. And once that opening segment was over, it was with all that talking. It's kind of like, because there
was a lot of talking, and there were a lot of things that were set up to make you wait, and you did a lot of waiting, and it wasn't necessarily a great payoff, and it just...
Yeah.
It felt like the irony was it felt like the longest show of all time, and then in the last 10 seconds they ran out of time.
Yeah, well, they rushed. I figured that was a time cue problem.
Well, what happened was they botched the spot.
Right.
And then that killed the last... I mean, they only had like 2 minutes left when they botched that spot, so they had to figure out what to do.
Maybe even less.
I was timing it because I knew it happened. It was about 2 minutes. So they had about 2 minutes, 90 seconds. They screwed up the spot, and then... Like they had to get back on the right page.
Was it supposed to be like a blocked Hurricane Rana or something?
He was supposed to go for the Hurricane Rana, blocked into the Styles Clash.
Right.
Because then afterwards they did the Styles Clash, and that's when Randy Orton ran in. So, once that thing got botched and they both tried to save it and then fell down, I mean, they killed off 45 seconds right there, and so the timing for the rest of the show was off.
Yeah. I mean, so there was the finish where Ray won due to Randy Orton's help. And boom, they were off the air. The announcers couldn't recap it. They couldn't say anything.
The ring announcer hadn't even finished announcing who had won when they were off the air.
Yeah, they were long on time. That match was really fun. I don't think it was super heated, but the match was really fun until the botched spot. But yeah, everything was, as far as they set up the matches. I thought that the Kabuki Warriors handicap match with Charlotte Flair last week, I thought was really good. And this week with Becky Lynch, I never got that same feeling. And they tried to do something similar.
Because it wasn't as good.
Yeah, it wasn't as good. It just didn't. What was it?
Wasn't as good.
Yeah,
it was slower. We'd seen it. We knew what was coming. The crowd was dead. There was a lot of things going on.
The crowd was dead, and also, of course, a lot worse finish. That didn't help either. But it all. I think they did a good job of focusing on the Kabuki Warriors and trying to get them into, being more than just good workers, and beating them up and setting everything up and really making this tag team title match into a real big match. So I thought that was well done. But, overall, I think between the crowd and just what you said, the too much talking, Seth Rollins' turn, but, and it played out. It was a show-long story. He did total Bret Hart, just like I was told. But, yeah, it felt long. I don't know how, the football game tonight went into overtime, but it was also two teams that are completely out of the running. It was kind of like from a whatever standings thing. It was not a meaningful game. So I don't know how that would affect the numbers because but there was nothing like watching the show. I mean, they had the handicap match with Becky, which is, but it didn't feel like there was anything like super big. You know what I mean? Like the big thing they were focusing on was the divorce thing, which they did first. And I guess the Seth thing, but we'll see. I mean, last week's number was better than I expected, so, whatever.
So it opened up with the divorce, and I'm not going to spend 5 hours going over the 5 hours this was, but basically, Lawler's there. They've got the papers in the ring. They just have to sign the papers. That's it. Crowd is totally dead at the beginning. Jerry Lawler reveals he's there with a King of Love shirt on. He's going to try a reconciliation.
Why would he do that?
He reveals his shirt, and it's deadly silence. I mean, there's no cheering. There's no booing. They're just dead.
Because put it this way, we've watched this angle, okay? The last thing I think anyone wants is a reconciliation. Because it's just like, it'd be like, we wasted so much time and then they're just going to get back together. Like that, so whatever. I mean, the one thing good is that they've changed the portrayal of Rusev completely. And I think that he was playing a much better character for him, because the original character, when this thing was going on, was just killing him. But now the people are really with him. He's smiling. He's happy. He's just, yeah, she's hot, but, I don't want her, And Lana, for what Lana was doing, I mean, I thought that she did good, in the role that she's playing. But it was too long, and that was the problem.
Well, let's get to it here. So, first off, out comes Lana, and she talks about how
You're not going to talk about her dress now, are you?
She's waived the distance provision in the restraining order, but the rest will be upheld. I was like, dude, how stupid do you think we are? Last week, this guy defied the restraining order, the other guy got arrested. So what are you even telling me here? And Rusev comes out, he's all happy.
Okay, well, here's the other thing. Okay, we never did find out, Lana and Lashley were in jail last week, and like they never even brought, Lana didn't even go, I had to spend a night in jail, I'm so humiliated.
Dude, there's 1,000 things on this show like that.
Yeah.
So they sit down, they start bickering, it's Death TV. She says, I loved you more than anybody, the fans hated you, but I loved you. Now you're rich and famous, it's gone to your head. I'm smart and intelligent. It wasn't just you that killed the marriage, it was these fans. Rusev tells her to calm down, and she says, don't take a step towards me, you'll go to jail for a long time. She has video of last week, and in fact, he defied the restraining order, and they arrested Lashley. Lana says, nobody will ever compare to me. Nobody will ever love you like I did. You'll never find somebody like you or like me again. Rusev says, I can't stand you. Why do I want another one? She says, you're so selfish. You're always picking Rusev Day over me. He says, let's get over with and sign these papers. He wants to sign. She grabs the papers. I'm going to sign them first, she says. So she signs the papers, and Rusev, they start arguing about who gets a dog.
That was the best part of it.
I'm like, dude, this wasn't drawn up this weekend. You guys forgot about the dog until today.
They did, because they're both selfish and self-centered. They don't even think about their dog.
Argue over this stupid dog. She signs. He grabs the paper.
Dog's probably the best one in the family.
He says, I'm not going to sign this. Lana says, what? He says, I need something from you. She starts going off about sex again, says sex 50 times. And he says, I don't want sex. I want a match with Lashley. And so Lashley comes out and says, fine, let's do this match. After I win, I'm going to ask her to marry me. Rusev said, good, she's all yours. She's bad. I want to live happily on...
She's a bad person.
I want to live happily on Rusev Day. I'll sign this. I'll see you anytime, anywhere, as long as it's on Rusev Day. They have a brawl. Brawl breaks out. Lashley gets powerbombed through a table. Or belly to belly.
Belly to belly.
Point of all of this is to cut to the chase, and it took freaking forever. They're now divorced, and now they're going to do a tables match at the pay-per-view.
Well, finally we're going to get a match after all these months of build.
A tables match.
I know.
All right. Well,
you know what that means? No pinfall.
No pinfall.
So we can have a fluke ending and keep it going.
We have Charlie with Kevin Owens, and God bless Charlie. Her character is so stupid. The first thing...
Oh, don't start
I said her character. Listen to me, Dave. Her character on television is an absolute idiot. She goes up to Kevin Owens and she says, have you figured out why you were attacked by the AOP? Now, last week on this show, we saw him beaten up and dragged to the back, and we never heard about it again. Shouldn't the first question be, hey, what the hell happened last week, and how'd you get away?
And are you okay?
Are you fine? What happened? No, the first question is, you figure out why they attacked you?
Well, that could be question two. I mean, that's a logical question.
She doesn't ask that question ever. He answers the question and says, you know what? They attacked me because of Seth, but you know what? I got away.
Well, at least you told us.
So he starts walking, runs into Ray. Ray gives him a bat.
No, pipe.
Whatever. Some weapon.
Well, he asks, Ray volunteers to help him in his fight with AOP, and he says no. It's like, I know if I'm going to fight these two giant dudes, and somebody says, I can help you, I don't say no, I want to fight the two giant dudes by myself. But in fact, he said that, but then Ray gave him a pipe, so it was at least helps a little bit.
Matt Hardy versus Drew McIntyre. The pre-match is significantly longer than the match because Drew has to do this promo about how Matt and Rebby have a new baby. The kid's cross-eyed, so we know Matt's the father. Matt, you've been successful in the ring, but you're a failure outside of the ring. You've made many bad decisions. Perhaps you shouldn't be having children. I'm going to give you and your family an opportunity to walk out and live to fight another day. Finally, Matt attacks him. They go right to commercial. Well, they come back.
Matt gives him the twist of fate. Matt actually lays him out. And then after that, after Matt has already laid him out with his finishing move, they come back with a match and Drew beats him real quick.
Yep, DDT, Claymore kick, gets the pin. That was that.
Yep.
Charlotte and Becky meet in the locker room. Charlotte says, listen, I don't like you, but I don't like the Kabuki Warriors more. So would you be interested in becoming Becky Two Belts again? And Becky says, you want my help with the Warriors? Well, I've had problems with them, and I've had problems with you, so I'm going to take my chances. I'm going to do this 2-on-1 tonight. I want the opportunity to collect on an old debt, meaning the Royal Rumble. Owens is walking around.
Okay, you said that, right?
No one else did? I'm well aware.
No one else did. It was never said. I was, during that match, I was like screaming, why don't you bring this up? Given that that's the whole reason that this feud started in the first place, is to go back to that, and nobody brings it up.
Owens is walking around. He runs into Mojo. Mojo starts messing with him, and so Kevin slaps him across the face. Walks off.
Well, at least Mojo got on television. And in something other than chasing that 24/7 belt. Which, by the way, no 24/7 tonight.
No. Hey, they still haven't told us what happened to that belt. They have not even told us on television that Truth is the champion again.
No, they expect that we knew from last week when they put it on social media. You know what? Okay, that's absolutely, when they ended that show last night, you have to go with the idea that you have to go in there and say, R-Truth, you show the clip of R-Truth winning the belt back. And they didn't do that at all from Kyle Busch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Viking Warriors promo, they've been searching for worthy opponents. They've only encountered victims. Open challenge here tonight. Who should accept but the Street Profits? And Montez runs wild early. He's flying all over the place. Sky high on Eric. Montez hits the big splash. Ivar breaks up. This is 30 seconds in, by the way. Brief heat, brief comeback. And all of a sudden, the Warriors grab Montez. They hit the Viking Experience. They pin this dude clean in the middle of the ring.
I was just absolutely
two
astounded
dudes on the roster is what they are already.
Yeah. Well, okay. So this is the mentality. It's like they beat
this.
Them.
I got to hear.
They beat them, but the Viking Raiders showed respect for them, and then later in the show, they got to do that comedy sketch. So the last thing you remember is the comedy sketch. But I'm still like trying to figure out. There's a million guys on this roster. Why don't you just remember when Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins won that match in Europe somewhere and earned the title match, which they never got?
They never got.
Why don't you just have? You could. I know Zack lost a match, but you could put somebody else against Buddy Murphy. Why don't you just put Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins against the Viking Experience and let them beat them in 3 minutes, and that's fine. And then you didn't beat the Street Profits. It's like I am. I'm at a loss when it comes to certain things, and the unique, and I know who these guys, and the Street Profits clearly are guys that they want to push. So why bother? Why put them in this match? I mean, they're not even like feuding with them or anything. It's not like it's a feud where you go back and forth and, maybe you have to lose or something like that. Why is the Street Profits' first television loss here for no reason? At least have their first loss be in like, it's a championship match, but, be with someone that they could come back with and make it a program or something rather than just Viking Experience 3 minutes. It just was like, whatever.
So then this is one of the reasons this show felt so long. What follows, everybody? This was one long segment, okay? It starts with the Street Profits and the Viking Warriors. This is how it started. This was one segment. Viking Warriors challenge, Street Profits accept, they do a match, the Viking Warriors win. The Viking Warriors...
Raiders.
Whatever. The Street Profits, they celebrate afterwards, and all of a sudden, out comes Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins comes to the ring. They're all in the ring together. He says, listen, I got something to say. If you guys want to hang out with me, you can. Otherwise, you can go. Everybody leaves.
They all leave. So the idea of them leaving is that they disrespected him, which is part of his turn, because everyone's disrespecting him, and he's, in his own mind, he's in the right, and everybody else is in the wrong.
Seth says, I have unfinished business with AOP. Want to fight them right here, right now. Kevin Owens comes out. He's got his bat. Seth says, this has to do with me and AOP. This has nothing to do with you. You don't need that pipe. Kevin says, listen, I know they're not here. I've been looking for them. I know they're going to show up. When are you three going to beat me up? Seth says, I don't know anything about this. Car shows up in the back. It's AOP. Seth says, they're going to come down here. They're going to beat your ass. It has nothing to do with me. Kevin says, well, listen, if they're going to come down here, why not just beat you up right now? So Seth is begging off, and Kevin isn't buying it, and Seth says, I nothing I could say will convince you. I'm just leaving. Kevin says, fine, leave. So he leaves.
Hey, at least we have a baby face who's like
not an idiot.
Intelligent, yeah. I mean, he knows, he sees through everybody, unlike these like naive baby faces that we've had for all these years.
So the segment's still going. AOP appears on the big screen. Kevin demands they come out. Sami Zayn comes out instead. He comes out with Mojo Rawley. He says, I got a manager's license. Now I can be on Raw and SmackDown. But he says, I'm not really a manager. I'm like, what?
Wait. How can a manager be on both shows?
Don't ask me, dude.
I mean, it's been like how many weeks since that last draft?
I mean, they actually did that with Ray when he was with Kane
Velasquez.
But that didn't last very long.
Yeah, it's just weird. I mean, Sami Zayn, too. And I'm still not even sure why we had that segment.
Sammy's there with Mojo. He says, you stepped over the line with Mojo, slapping him. Mojo starts screaming at Kevin. Everybody says, tough with a pipe in their hands. Kevin says, oh yeah? He throws the pipe to Mojo, gives him the stunner. Sammy flees. Kevin starts beating on Mojo Rawley with the pipe. The segment finally ends.
He beat on him really good. Did you see all the bruises on Mojo Rawley's back?
I didn't.
Yeah, he's got
that segment went on 5 days.
He's got some real nasty bruises on his back. He took some shots.
This thing went on forever.
The whole show went on forever.
And dude, that was leading to the top of the hour, if I recall. That was 1 hour that we just recapped right there. Then Buddy Murphy vows to take out Aleister Black. Aleister Black then faces Akira Tozawa, no heat, quick little match, Black Mass, finish.
Akira Tozawa is really good at being an enhancement guy.
He has been an enhancement guy for 3 weeks now.
I mean, his facial expressions, his work, he sells, you know. I mean, yeah, the crowd was dead, but
I got some advice for Tozawa.
Yes.
Start sucking at being an enhancement guy. Otherwise, you're going to be an enhancement guy.
Well, he's going to be one either way. That's his role. You know, he's destined to it. He's really good at it, but yeah.
Charlie's with Humberto. Andrade and Zelina walk up. They have a shoving match in Spanish. They will wrestle tonight. So they wrestle. And by the end of this match, it was very good.
It was really good.
I hate to say this, but it's just a fact. This match would have been better in any other promotion on the planet.
Oh, no shit. I'm watching this match, and I'm thinking, like, if this match was on NXT, people would be just going crazy about how
It would be one of the best matches of the year on NXT.
Yeah, if it was on AEW, it would be like a great match. And here, because of the crowd.
Well, it was the crowd and the fact that a minute in, we just had a long chin lock. You got Andrade and Humberto, and you're doing a long chin lock a minute into the match.
The match was so good, I had no problem with that. It was just that the crowd, you know,
because the crowd's not going to get into a match with two guys that have a chin lock a minute into the match.
They didn't get into anything all night after the divorce thing.
Actually, you know what? You're wrong. They got into Humberto's comeback when he started doing a bunch of cool high-flying moves.
To a degree.
More than most stuff on this show.
Well, because it's the best match on the show, but it wasn't...
Well, and because people like to see cool high-flying moves, and when you have two guys who can do a bunch of cool high-flying moves, why in God's name are they laying on the mat in a chin lock? Besides the obvious.
It wasn't that long. I found this match to be very good, but I just thought that, you know... I mean, this was a tough crowd. It was a tough crowd all night. It's one of the reasons the show dragged was the crowd, because some of the wrestling was really good here.
Dave, you know this better than anybody. You have to understand the crowd you're playing in front of.
You're right.
And do what you can to get them into the match.
Okay, but
when you have a tough crowd, there should be zero chin locks.
Okay.
There was no story to the chin locks in this match. There was no point to having a chin lock in this match. Nobody uses their head or their chin or their neck for a finish or anything in this match. They just did it because that's what you do in WWE.
Well, it's out of their control because these matches...
I'm not blaming them.
Yeah, these matches are laid out, and they got to do what they got to do. Now, why? You know, I mean, look, I can question... You know, except for AJ and Ray, I didn't have any problems. You know, you can always question the stuff, but... You know, they did...
I can tell you why. I'll bet the old school theory is, well, the reason the fans got into this match is because we grounded Humberto, so when he finally did some flying, the people got into it. But well, the problem is, it's 2019, and I've seen a million matches where the fans go crazy for the high flying, and the high flying did not have to be set up by chin locks or grounding a dude.
Well, I would agree with that, but I think that at the same point, you know, that was a minor part of the problem. I mean, it was just this was just a tough crowd all night long, and these guys did about as good as you're going to do. And again, when you have a match like this that's designed to be a great match and kind of is a great match, but the crowd's not going with it with a great match, it's really up to the announcers to get it over as a great match, and they did. They did a very good job of telling you.
The announcers did a good job. But aside from the way the match was structured early, there's also the issue that no matter what Paul Heyman thinks of Humberto, and I know it's probably not his fault because it's not really his show, but they have beaten and beaten and beaten and beaten Humberto.
I know,
and so
tough.
he comes out here with Andrade, and there is zero reason for these fans to get into this match. None.
They're trying. They're trying, but of course, like,
this all fits together.
Well, it's the same thing. Well, it's like that Street Profits finish. It's like, I'm going to go 3 weeks from now, and I'm going to look back and go, why the hell did they do it? Like with Humberto, it's like, you want to push this guy. He's pretty acrobatic. He's good looking. God knows you need young talent. So why'd you do what you did? And I mean, I could see, okay, losing to AJ Styles and Seth Rollins, you know what? And competitive and everything. That really wasn't a negative. But you can't do it over and over and over again. And they did do it over and over and over again. And that was, a little bit too much. But look, you got, it is, we're always going to have that issue with, it's Vince. What can I say? It's
well aware.
Vince, I was surprised he let, who knows though? Because,
well, what's going to happen next week? Do we need to even discuss this?
I mean, the problem was he beat Andrade, who Vince is not on Vince's protected list. And it's not like it's like building Humberto up for something really, really big. I mean, until we get to the point where it's time for Humberto to beat like a major.
All right, we briefly lost Dave, but he's back. Anyway, the finish of this match, Andrade missed a charge, bonked into Zelina, and then Carrillo hit a victory roll for the pin. So Carrillo wins. That's good. And the last several minutes of this match was very good. So then when it was over, Andrade screamed at Zelina afterwards. I can't imagine they're breaking this group up.
I don't know. I was thinking that maybe it was just a way to save Andrade with a loss and, to kind of protect him with a loss that you don't think about that last or something. I don't know. I hope they don't break them up. I like the dynamic. I've always liked the dynamic of those two. I thought Andrade really helped himself. He was really good at making Humberto look good. Humberto has got something, no doubt. I just hope they let him, get there.
We had a Ray promo, which was good as always. Belt means everything to him. If AJ is man enough to beat him tonight, he'll be the first to congratulate him, shake his hand. Could do all he can to prove to his family, friends, and himself that he is worth being called Rey Mysterio, the U.S. champion. We had Buddy Murphy, Zack Ryder, V-Trigger, Murphy's Law. This went like 2 minutes, no heat. We had Owens destroying AOP's car outside. Busts his way in, but nobody's in there. Gets jumped from behind by AOP. They beat his ass, falls into random pipes backstage. They slam the door on his head. He goes down. They cut back to the car. There's a hooded dude inside, and sure enough, it's Seth Rollins. So, Seth Rollins, AOP, they're together. Seth comes out for his big heel promo. This promo, Seth says, I want to know what you fans want. We used to get along. Somewhere along the way, it all went wrong. I can't figure out why.
The booking.
I don't take nights off. I fight through injuries. I lay it on the line for you fans. I stick my neck out in the ring and in the media, and I get spit on and disrespected. I told everyone I had nothing to do with AOP. That was the truth. Truth isn't good enough for you people. Called me a liar. This Kevin Owens can't lace my boots. He called me a liar. I let it slide. Tried to tell you again I had nothing to do with AOP. That was also the truth. Once again, not enough for you. What is good enough for you people? What do I have to do? Do I have to go in the ring and kill myself? I beat Lesnar twice, brought the Universal title back to Raw. For you, that still wasn't enough. You push me, I'm going to push back. Your negativity is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now I will stand side by side with the AOP.
He's trying to be Bret.
He's so not Bret Hart.
I agree. He's so not Bret Hart.
It's not even... What is Canada?
What?
What's his Canada?
He doesn't really have a Canada. He's just...
Well, that's a pretty big missing key of this whole Bret Hart 1997 deal.
Well, the idea is that he's right and he's really the baby faces and the fans are the heels. That's the idea.
Except he's not right.
Well, no, he's not right. That's true.
So then he's just every other heel there's ever been who thinks that he's right, but he's a heel.
He blames the fans.
That's every other heel ever.
Yeah, he blames the fans for his booking. You know, I mean, what killed him was his booking, the freaking booking against Bray Wyatt. That's what it was.
He's crying in the corner. It was, the media. He's talking about the media here. What about all the stuff he did in the media where he buried Dean Ambrose and all this other stupid stuff?
That was stupid stuff, admittedly, but I don't think that didn't help his cause, but it was really the Bray Wyatt thing that just...
No, it was everything. I mean, we have an audience today where he has alienated every kind of person that watches this show. If you follow his stuff in the media, he's alienated you there. If you follow him on Twitter, he's alienated you there. If you only watch the show, he's alienated you. He's hit every single base.
Yet, at every house show this weekend, he was cheered like crazy.
And he worked as a babyface.
I know.
Well, maybe the problem isn't the fans.
Well, I don't think the problem is the fans. I think that's just, I think he thinks the problem is the fans because in real life, he thinks he's the good guy. But people aren't taking it that way.
I just find it really hard to believe that Colby Lopez can't figure out how stupid this Bray Wyatt stuff was, how stupid his character looked. I find that so hard to believe. I mean, this guy is not a stupid guy.
I don't think he is a stupid guy in the least.
If he really can't figure this out and he really is blaming the fans, then it comes across as a pretty stupid guy because that's not the problem.
I got to agree with you on that. When he's doing all this, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm thinking you're blaming the fans because your character is so dislikable because of how you were booked in this feud. And it's one of those things where you've been booked really, really bad and it sabotaged your career. Not sabotaged his career because he's in a good spot, but it's sabotaged your babyface run completely. And your reaction is to blame the fans for not cheering you. It's they do go to, the key people there do go to great lengths to absolve management of any culpability in anything that goes wrong. Whether they believe that they have to do it, because if you say the other thing, then, there's, it's not well looked upon for obvious reasons. You're not really supposed to do that. But blame the fans, for that's kind of silly too.
We have Owens loaded into the ambulance, and then Becky faced the Kabuki Warriors. Tried to do a very similar match from last week. It was not a bad match, but it was not as good as last week. And Becky makes her own comeback. They cut her off. She makes her comeback. Modified Doomsday Device. She just slammed her head on the mat. It was a brutal landing. Kairi tries the elbow. Becky gets the boot up. Goes for the disarmer. Asuka breaks it up. Tries the disarmer on Kairi. Asuka pulls her out of the ring. And then finally, Asuka just hits her with a chair for the disqualification. And they lay Becky on a table afterwards. Kairi puts her through with an elbow off the post.
That was pretty crazy.
It was very crazy.
It was a really cool spot.
So, yeah. Then we have an AJOC promo, just basically talking about how OC's going to win the tag titles, AJ's going to win the U.S. title. And then we get the big angle where Becky's getting iced backstage. Charlotte shows up. Charlotte, who I guess is supposed to be a baby face, but she just... Like a total heel, she walks in, she goes, "How'd that go?"
She's supposed to be a babyface. Well, the idea is that they are pushing so hard to the I don't like you. I don't like you. That's one of the things that they do. In that feud, it's we have to remind you that I don't like you because I think that in the long run, I think that that's always the money match that they plan on going back to is Becky Lynch against Charlotte Flair. So they don't want you to think, even though they're teaming, that they're actually a team. That's the idea. So they keep reminding you of that.
So Becky says, "Fine, I need to get my shot at Asuka." Charlotte tells her good match. She leaves. She gets jumped by the Kabuki Warriors. We have an Eric Rowan squash. Yes, the show is not over yet.
Over Tracer X.
Tracer
X, who they never mentioned his name once. And he tried to steal...
the cage.
Yeah, he should have just opened it, so at least we knew what it was.
He runs off, he drops it, he runs back to the ring. Rowan goes after the cage. Rowan almost gets counted out. Rowan comes back, kills this dude with 3 claw slams. Ref just calls for the bell. Rowan gives him a 4th one afterwards, gets cheered.
Yeah, well, when you keep doing it, you're going to get cheered.
It's just classic. I mean, how long have we been watching wrestling?
I've been watching wrestling for a long, long time.
Okay, for the entire time you've been doing this, if you give a guy 3 and you give him a 4th, you're going to get cheered, right?
Most of the time, yeah. Yeah, unless it's like a really sympathetic babyface. But if you're doing it to a job guy in 2019, yes. If you do it a 4th time, you're going to get cheered.
Charlie interviews the Kabuki Warriors. Even though they never speak English to her, she tries. They don't speak English. Finally, she goes, "Will you please just speak English?"
And they did.
They challenge Becky and Charlotte to challenge them for Sunday. And after commercial, Charlotte and Becky accept, but Becky says, as long as it's tables, ladders, and chairs.
So we got it official now.
Yes. Street Profits do a Weekend Update spoof promoting TLC.
It was a very clever way to do an event center, but they're doing jokes
with a laugh track.
With a laugh track, which is death to me, because it's like, if it's funny, the audience will laugh, and the audience was not laughing, and you had a laugh track, and it was like, that they were not cool, and the idea of the Street Profits is that they're supposed to be cool.
Well, this is painful. And then finally, AJ Ray for the title. This was a very fun match while it lasted. Out come Gallows and Anderson. They distract Ray. AJ gets the heat. Ray makes his big comeback. Ref starts telling him 2 minutes left. This is what we talked about earlier. Ray hits an Enziguri 619. Gallows hugged AJ to take the bullet, which was not a DQ. AJ goes up top. Ray stops him. Ray tries the Hurricane Rana. AJ's supposed to catch him for the Styles Clash, but they fall down onto the mat. Time stands still. AJ grabs him. Powerbomb Styles Clash. Orton hits the ring. Winks at AJ. Slides out of the ring. AJ's distracted. Turns around. Goes for the Styles Clash. Ray turns into a cradle, and literally they're off the air at that 3 count.
Yeah.
And that was the end of the show. So sad that main event got ruined, because that was a lot of fun. But at least they ended on a high note. I'll give them that. How's it going, everybody? Bryan Elvers and Dave Meltzer here, Wrestling Observer Radio. It is December 17, 2019. Figure4online.com/WrestlingObserver.com. We have a Raw to talk about. We have a Raw taping to talk about. They taped 2 shows this evening in Des Moines, and this is for, obviously, next week's Raw show.
I bet you the people there, think that it, took 2 days.
Dude. I was warned about it, so I wasn't that mad, because I knew it was coming. But that 1-hour gauntlet match that ended without a finish to determine a number 1 contender, and then we got a number 1 contender, and it was a guy who wasn't even in the gauntlet match. I have a watch that tells me when I get emails, and at about 7:59 p.m., my watch just went bzz, 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 bzz. I got about 10, 12 emails in a row. People furious that they devoted all this time to that match, and they didn't even get a finish. I mean, there was some good wrestling in it, but man, oh man, that's crazy.
Yep. There's nothing else to say.
That is completely insane.
Yeah, it was annoying. I mean, to have you do that. I mean, especially because of how just completely stupid it was, because, you've got Andrade there, fresh after Humberto Carrillo has been in this long match, and he doesn't wait for the bell and just, the guy ends up on a stretcher and then doesn't seem to even care or even challenge or anything. And then Seth Rollins is like, now you got an opponent, it's me. So
that was it?
Yeah.
An hour of our time.
Yeah. Well, I think the idea was it was going to be such good wrestling that nobody would complain, but the reality was that they forgot to tell the live crowd this, because the live crowd was so dead. And can you imagine? They must have to do some major sound sweetening, because I heard that the second show was when the crowd was dead, and I go, it was dead the first show.
I mean, how would it be dead? They sat through 3 hours of Raw and then had to watch another Raw.
Yeah.
And one of the 3 hours was a 1 hour gauntlet match without a finish.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so the Raw, we actually so they actually taped the Raw ahead of time. It wasn't live, this, in Des Moines. Because if they did that, because if they had to do like, I mean, they're Central Time, so if they had to do almost 3 hours, I think they did the second show in about 2.5 hours. So if they were, they'd have to keep people there until 12:30. Since the one thing was over at like 10 their time, so they moved that up, and but still everybody was there until well after 11 Central Time, and starting at whatever it was a 5+ hour live show, and they were dead during the early part. It was just, I think that it went from the idea, they opened with Seth Rollins, and nobody knows how to react because he turned heel, except they want to cheer him, so they just kind of don't react. And I guess they took that was kind of like the cue for the rest of the show, and then they had a second show. Unbelievable.
Well, this first show opens
let's talk about Kairi Sane first. So, there's no official word other than she was not cleared. Now, they said when Asuka was out there with Gianna Perazzo that Kairi Sane is there, and I never saw her. Was she actually there, or did they just say that because they're being weird?
Well, I didn't see her, but I know that she was there for the second set of taping. So I mean, she was definitely there.
No. I know she was in the building.
No, I didn't see her ringside. She didn't come out with Asuka. I didn't see anything.
Right, and they went in there, and they she's on the graphic, and then it's like, but the announcers even said, she's out there, and it's like I kept looking, and she was nowhere to be found.
I didn't see her.
I don't know. It's like, were they trying to tell us she's really not hurt? She's there, but they didn't even send her out. And I mean, they did send her. She was there for the second taping, so it wasn't like, I don't know. It was so weird. It was just so freaking weird. But there's no word on exactly what the condition was, other than she was not cleared, which 9 times out of 10 means a concussion. I will say that of people that are in the company, most of them, or actually everyone that I've spoken to, pretty much said the same things that we said last night, that they were just appalled, just kind of disgusted. And there's like, okay, so Vince McMahon and Paul Levesque were not there. So you can't blame them because they were not there. But it's like, they do have doctors there. They do have producers there. They do have trainers there. They do have people they do have a referee. It's like, what was like everyone out to lunch all at the same time? I don't understand. It wasn't like this was like some subtle thing. It's like, what,
Well, I will say this about, the referees. There were multiple referees out there, right? Because it was a TLC match. I remember seeing at least 2 referees out there.
Yes.
Okay, so, Paul Levesque is not there. Vince is not there.
Right.
As far as, like, the agents and other people, a lot of them left early. They do their thing and they go. They start heading to the next town. But the referees are out there. They're standing right there around ringside.
But there's still people in charge.
There are people in charge on those headsets, but those people communicate with the refs, right?
Yes. Well, not the refs, and there's doctors. The doctors don't go and leave and go to the next town early.
I don't want to yell at the referees solely, but what the hell is going on?
But here's the thing. Okay, look, here's the thing. Okay, without a doubt, that Ashley Flair, Charlotte Flair, screwed up. Okay, there's that, in many ways. Okay, but it shouldn't have. It's not her call either. You know what I mean? It's like, but it's like, it was clear that she was hurt, and there was some kind of, communications issue and all that, but still, it's like, the idea is like whoever's in charge backstage is the one who should have said, doctors, get out there and, get her out of there or whatever, or go home. Obviously the obvious right thing to do in that situation is just, okay, we don't want to turn it into a handicap match. I've heard that suggestion. Well, pull her out and make it a handicap match because they've done the 2 handicaps. But the problem is that Asuka's going to win, which is sort of okay because the whole thing was supposed to, is building to Asuka challenging Becky Lynch for the championship. But I don't know if they really want to do it that way. So just go in there and just say, go to the finish right now, get it over with. Because why, Kairi Sane had to take all those blows afterwards, and that powerbomb spot is just, that's just one of the craziest things I've ever seen, when you really think about it. I mean, I thought about
what I can't figure out in the match is why weren't Charlotte and Kairi communicating with each other? That's my big question.
That I don't know. I don't know.
Charlotte goes for that spear, and Kairi doesn't really bump, and then Charlotte starts slapping her. Yeah. And, where's the communication right there? Because then then Charlotte goes to do the power bomb, and Kairi clearly doesn't want to go up.
Yeah.
I mean, where was the communication before she tried to power bomb her?
I don't know.
And when she finally got her up, and, Kairi is looking down at Charlotte, why isn't she saying, don't do this, I'll drop to my feet, we'll do something? I mean, why is there no communication? That's also baffling to me.
I don't know, and I've literally heard nothing other than the fact that nobody has answers, and but nobody, it wasn't like I was waiting for someone to be defensive or thinking you're overreacting. It's like, oh no, it was terrible. It was it's these, so I just, I chalk it up at this point. It's already happened. So now it's a learning experience.
It's over. Now you got to do it right next time.
Right, exactly. It's like it's been screwed up, and from what I understand, the way I was told is that, whatever it is, which again I presume is a concussion. It's not she was okay today. I mean, they didn't send her home. She was not in the hospital or anything like that. So that's I guess it's a good sign. But with concussions, you just never know. I mean, she might be fine in a week. I mean, in the sense of, being, we've had people come back from concussions in days. And we've had people, never come back, get a concussion and never come back, or, and ends your career. It can happen. And she's had concussions before, that's not a good thing. And then the problem is that, with a concussion, the worst thing that can happen is that you're so susceptible to another one with another bump, and she took several bumps afterwards, especially that table bump, to where if she got a second one in a short period of time, that's a real bad situation. But it doesn't right now. It doesn't appear that it's a terrible thing. But yeah, as far as a learning thing, every freaking promotion in this world should learn from this, and it's basically if somebody has got a concussion, you get them out of harm's way, and you either end the match right away or you just get them out of there. But don't be out there with we've got to go through everything that we've planned, But yeah, it already happened. I don't know. I'm just, again, it's if it was a subtle thing, it's one thing, but this was just not subtle, and it was so, it's again, even after the spear, okay, it's okay, when you saw that, it's kind of get her out of harm's way, and they went, how many minutes did they go after that? Because I didn't watch it back afterwards, but it wasn't that was right before the finish.
No, they went easily 10 minutes after that. Maybe longer, because the match was 28 minutes long. They may have went 15 minutes after that.
That's insane. I don't think that was 15 minutes. I don't think it was that long. It didn't, 'cause I remember when I watched it and everything, it was But it was several minutes.
Now I will say this. I mean, to be fair, speaking of lack of communication.
Well, also we don't know. We the other thing too is, again, I mean, there's probably the doctor or Kyrie may know when it happened, but I mean, as far as like other people, like their guess is as good as ours. I mean, like it could have happened early. It could have happened in the spot that you said. There's other people who thought. I mean, I've heard like 10 different spots from different people of where they thought it happened, but nobody knows. So it's like it could have happened in the 3rd minute of the match. It could have happened in the 15th minute of the match. But.
Well, all I know is this: like a lot of people have been watching clips on Twitter and getting really outraged, and some people heard about it after it happened. But here's my point: I watched this live, okay, and when she took that slam into the dasher boards and landed on the cement, I was like, "Ugh, that looked good. I hope she's all right." And she kept working, so I didn't think nothing of it. When the spear spot got screwed up, I thought, that was kind of weird. And then when she didn't go up for the powerbomb, I was like, what is going on with this match? And the reality is, there was a lot of other stuff that was messed up in this match, so it wasn't like it was sticking out that much. I mean, it stuck out that she didn't go up for the powerbomb, but it was a while before I finally was watching this going, I think she's hurt. And I tweeted this out, and I didn't see anybody else on Twitter saying she was hurt. So I do think that there are some people who didn't even watch the match, who saw the clips the next day. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe, blah, blah, blah. Dude, it was a long time before I figured out something was wrong with Kairi Sane. Because there was a lot wrong with that match, and it was not obvious watching it live for a while there.
It was obvious after the powerbomb.
I mean, it was obvious. It should have been obvious to the people involved. That's what I don't get.
Well, that's true.
That's what I don't understand. Like, to a viewer at home watching on TV, it did take me a while to figure out, like, someone's got to be hurt here. It's got to be Kyrie. But to the people in the match, it took a long time. I mean, it was probably a good 7-8 minutes after she really was hurt that Becky was even down talking to her. And then Becky was over there talking to Asuka. And I'm just thinking, why aren't the refs communicating? Why is nobody talking to the refs? Like, usually it's the refs that are going over there. They squeeze the hand, they're doing whatever. It was none of this. It was so weird.
And if anything, with WWE, one of the things, and this is not a knock, because it is the refs are taught to be overzealous. I mean, like, how many times, if you watch when somebody takes, like, even a normal bump, the refs are there, whispering to them right away. I mean, like, that's a good thing. I mean, they're overly cautious. That's what makes the whole thing so strange, is that, where was the ref? Refs, where was, was it that she didn't say anything because, but she was so scared, what I mean?
She was running away from chair shots, so I find it hard to believe that she was going to tell the refs that she's okay, and then she's running away from chair shots so she doesn't get hit with the chair.
Okay, but she didn't. But if she told someone something, they would have done something. I mean, it's like, it's not that. I mean, it's like she didn't tell. Like, if she had told, like, Ashley, if she just said, like, I'm hurt, take care of me, I'm sure she would have. So it's like she just didn't, she must have not said anything. But I mean, I think that spot where, the powerbomb spot that was just weird.
Well, I want to say another thing too. She did say something, because there's a long period where her and Becky are on the ground talking. And then after that, Becky goes over to talk to Asuka. So it could have just been that she got her bell rung and she figured, I'm going to shake this thing off and I'm going to be okay. And she didn't say anything for a while. And then after a few minutes, she realized, dude, I'm not shaking this off. I'm hurt. And at that point, she made it clear that she wasn't doing well. That could be.
By the way, because I actually just read this like an hour and a half ago. And this was a show that I was at, and you remember this one vividly, was the Hiromu Takahashi and Dragon Lee match from the Cow Palace in San Francisco. And it's probably, 90 seconds, 2 minutes before the finish, he gets a broken neck. And it wasn't like, I mean, the minute that thing happened, I mean, I was there with, I'm trying to remember who I was with. I mean, I remember my son was there with me. And I'm trying to think if Garrett was there with me. I think Garrett was in a different part of the building. But there were. But anyway, the point of all this, were you there with me at that one?
I was at that one, yeah.
Yeah, you were sitting with me, weren't you?
Yep.
Okay, so you were there too. But we knew immediately, right? Because that's the first thing we said. It's like, oh, fuck. Okay? And they did continue. And so he actually said, like, he told the ref immediately, as soon as he landed, I forget the exact wording, but he basically told the ref, like, I'm, end the match, I'm done. And then he just goes, because immediately when he hit, he just thought, I guess he said, like, basically immediately when it happened, it's like, oh my God, my career's over. Like, my career's over. I'm gonna, whatever. But then he got feeling, because adrenaline is a weird thing, and he goes and he says to the ref, I was only kidding. And he gets up and does, like, all these spots. He basically does the entire finish, and he's not feeling it. And then when the match is over and he's walking to the back, he basically, like, I guess the walk to the back was incredibly difficult because, to make it. And then once he makes it to the back, he, like, immediately collapses, and his next thing you know, he's in the hospital and scared to death again that, like, his career is over. What am I going to do for a living for the rest of my life? Everything that goes through your head when you think you're done, all of a sudden. But it was interesting because they didn't stop the match either, but he did tell the ref, first he said that he wasn't, then he just said, hey, I'm only kidding, because I guess that was the first thing that came to his head.
And if that had happened in the first 3 minutes of the match, and he told the ref that he was kidding, and they had to go another 15 minutes, I mean, it's very likely that 5 minutes later he would have figured out, dude, I'm not all right. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's what happened with Kyrie. She rang her bell. She thought, maybe I can shake this thing off. Didn't say anything. And a little bit later decided, you know what, I'm not all right. And that's when her and Becky had that talk. Could very well be what happened.
But they still went out. They still didn't go to the finish.
No, they didn't.
When they had that talk. And, anyway, it happened. Hopefully everyone learns from it. It could have been.
But there is another possibility. The other possibility is that when she went to talk to Becky, that was pretty much the last thing she did in the match. So it is possible that she told Becky, I'm out, have Asuka do the rest. Becky went to tell Asuka. The refs went over to Kyrie. Kyrie said, I'm hurt, but I'm laying here for the rest of the match. I'm not doing anything. So let him go to the finish. That's also possible.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's the Kyrie situation. I guess we may never find out more because they keep those concussions very quiet, but that's what we know right now.
I remember when Daniel Bryan, of course, that was a real mess because, there was a protocol issue with Daniel Bryan thing in the sense that, he got a concussion, flew to Europe, wrestled 3 or 4 times, then they pulled him and sent him home. And then the first thing I was told is like, because I had been told by a wrestler that he had a real bad concussion. And then the first thing the company says is he doesn't have a concussion, but they wouldn't tell me what happened. So it's like, that's a really weird word there. Like when we have these, it's especially with a woman, but I mean, I shouldn't even say that because it's the same with guys, that a lot of the times with concussions, it's like, especially when there's a protocol issue, because they are very, on paper and in practice, they are too. They are very strict with concussions, as you have to be in this day and age. But sometimes things happen and you have a protocol, but sometimes, it's wrestling and whatever, things happen. And then it's like, oh God, then it's becomes like a potential legal issue, and everything. So they're not going to say, what happened, because then it, if they say that they know or whatever, and there was a problem like there, I mean, like, you could say that, this is, in theory, this is a lawsuit waiting to happen. So they really can't say anything past she's not cleared, which is really, again, the only thing I heard. She's not cleared. So, And it's just a question of when she is cleared.
We're opened up with Seth Rollins coming out, introduces Akam and Razor. He says, when I debuted, everybody was saying that I was the future. Everybody called me the future up until I beat Brock Lesnar. Then they all turned on me. I'm a visionary. I'm going to lead this brand to the next decade and beyond, whether you like it or not. I'll drag you kicking and screaming into 2020. I apologize in advance for what we're going to do tonight. And as they leave, Joe does this big promo talking about how dangerous AOP is. They've been kicked out of every gym they've ever been in. They put on submissions and don't let them go. They do terrible things.
They don't break. They hold leg locks too long.
Yes.
That was really it was funny the way he did that, because I thought, to a certain segment of the fan base, that's really a hell of an analogy that literally nobody else doing commentary would ever come up with.
Yeah.
To a lot of people, it's they won't fully understand that, but Joe was, it's funny. Joe's the best announcer in that company right now.
Oh yeah, by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, well, especially on the main roster. But he's just, he's just very quick. He speaks well.
He understands professional wrestling and has not been ruined yet.
Yeah. Of course, now he's about to come back. So he is, on the next show, next week, Joe, does the babyface turn, and he's going to be in there in that main event feud. So there you go.
Viking Raiders versus OC. So what happened was, on the pay-per-view, the Viking Raiders issued an open challenge for the tag team titles. They went to a double count-out. They rematch tonight, not for the titles.
What's funny is I was watching the match, and I guess they never did say it was a championship match. Well, I know they didn't, but I just kind of assumed it was.
Well, of course you would assume that. They went to a double count in a title match. Why would they rematch in a non-title match? It doesn't even make any sense.
And then they win, and it's like, okay, title change, and then it's like, then didn't the announcers kind of act confused, like it was?
Well, what happened was the OC wins. They hit the Magic Killer. Samoa Joe says, "New tag." Oh, I guess not. And he paused for a minute, and then he goes, "Well, they should be the new tag team champions." I was like, "You're damn right they should be." But for some reason, this was a non-title match after a double count out in a title match. They're literally booking backwards. It's amazing.
Yeah. No. So here's the thing. Shouldn't the announcers, during the match, did they ever? Because I don't remember anyone ever specify. Because usually when you do this, and it's a non-title match, it's made very clear ahead of time that it's a non-title match. So I
think they didn't announce it was a non-title match because, why would you bother watching? We got a double count out last night to lead to a non-title match. I'm not sticking around for that. There's football on. I don't even like football.
Yeah, but usually, again, I've seen a million non-title matches when you have a situation like this that are there to lead to the championship match, as this was, and I can't recall ever not being told. I think non-title is that one of the terms that's banned? I think it is.
I have no idea. I don't know how else you describe a non-title match. Yeah. Not for a championship opportunity?
Well, I know title shot is banned, which is a
non-title opportunity. How about that?
Yeah, well, they didn't even use the words. But it was just weird watching because, so I thought, okay, title change, and then it's like, oh, this was a non-title match. So, whatever.
Clips of
the match itself, I thought was very well wrestled, but it went really, really long.
Dude, they had two commercial breaks in the middle of this match.
Yeah.
It was one of those matches where they make the hot tag, there's a big comeback, you're expecting the finish at any moment, they go to commercial, they come back, and there's heat on the other guy. I'm like, what? So two commercial segment here. Clips of Eric Rowan promo on YouTube, tells Sarah to mind her own business. We have an AJ and OC promo. AJ says, "Great night. OC beat the Viking Raiders. I'm going to take out Randy Orton tonight, and I want to do it on my own. You guys stay in the back." We have an Eric Rowan squash. This jobber just tries to run for his life, which begs the question.
Dante Leone.
Why do you even take the match if he was just going to run away? I don't even get it. Gets chased around, thrown in the ring, claw slam finish.
Well, I mean, the new thing, because one of the things that Paul Heyman's trying to do is, get people wins. So they're doing a lot more of these 1 and 2 minute matches to get over finishing moves and get people wins.
I'm fine with a squash match, but why is the enhancement guy, the bell rings and he runs away?
Well,
why did you even get in the match then?
No. He ran to get the box, to look at the box. I mean, now why he would do that, I have no idea. So it still doesn't make sense. But the new thing in every Eric Rowan match is that the guy goes in there. It's like he's going to either try to look at what's in the box or steal it. And when he does that, then Eric Rowan gets furious and then just like freaking destroys him, like you're, trying to, kidnap his child, because it's supposed to be like his child in there, or his pet dog, or his pet whatever.
Charlie's with Andrade, talking about the gauntlet match tonight, how Andrade should be a favorite, but Humberto has beaten him twice. Zelina buries Charlie for the question, says getting beaten twice by Humberto was the best thing that ever happened to Andrade. When they decide to make this right, they'll give Humberto time to repent, but then it's curtains for him. Andrade says this will be his night. We have a Liv Morgan return promo. She's going to destroy herself so the real her can emerge.
So she was in a towel in a bathtub, not at the same time, towel first, then she went in the bathtub. So it's like the whole thing is they're trying to remake her into this like sexy girl thing. But I didn't like, okay, so the deal is she's not going to take, what is it from, like, she's not going to take orders from anyone else anymore, and she's killing herself to reemerge. Is that what this deal is?
She's going to destroy herself so the real her can emerge.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, at least it's a vignette to build for her return, so it builds anticipation. And obviously they're going to remake her and, in theory, give her some spotlight, which right now on the women's side. It's really just been Asuka, Kairi Sane, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte, and like nobody else has gotten any spotlight. So I guess this is a way to get someone into a mix, and then maybe someone into a mix with them, in another secondary women's program.
We had Lashley and Lana out, and Lana says, I know a lot of people were very busy scrolling through my Instagram yesterday. You might have missed Lashley's match. He crushed and destroyed and devoured his opponent, Rusev. He is the winner. He is my hot boyfriend. She says, I have something that I want you to say. I want the world to know how much you love me. I want you to ask me to marry you. She pulls out the ring. She gives it to him to give to her. Lashley says, I don't like anybody telling me what to do. Except you. And he takes the ring, gets on his knee, says she's the most gorgeous woman in the entire world, the most amazing female wrestler in the entire WWE, in the entire WWE history, he adds.
Yeah, she's freaking Asuka or something, right? She's like the best worker.
I know we'll be the most amazing power couple.
Yes. One of those things I was thinking, this marriage is not off to a good start because he's telling a big lie on at least half of that. You can get away with the first one, but that second one was a little bit too strong. But so that's going to be there. So, December 30th is going to be a very tough day probably for ratings because I don't know what football they're going up against, if any. But it's, that week, I think the 23rd and the 30th are they're not like the 24th and 31st, with like last year, which are complete death days for ratings. But they're not going to be easy days, to draw an audience. So they're going on the 30th with the wedding as, television weddings historically work for ratings. It's like they almost always work. I don't know about this one. I'm a cross between dreading and curious as to how what they're going to pull off, because obviously with a wrestling wedding, something always goes wrong. And it always ends up being, a comedy thing. So, I don't know where what the punchline is, so to speak. But it's kind of an interesting it's interesting. It's storyline. Every time they're out there, the ratings go, the audience goes up. I mean, that's the one thing. I mean, every time, and the, YouTube views are up too, but that's why this thing keeps going. But it's like, man, every one of those segments, they always feel like they went too long. I mean, I was just like, even this one, I was just like, God, not as bad as last week, but it's like, it was still like, you could have done the segment in half the time.
We have Truth come out for the beginning of this gauntlet match here. He says his childhood hero was John Cena. He's going to become the new television champion, he says.
24/7 television, yeah, the whole... Yeah, I mean, so it's like this gimmick because he's, let me see, he's 5 years older than John Cena?
Dude, I'm watching his debut 19 years ago this month, and John Cena is quite a ways away from debuting.
Yeah, he's older than John Cena, so that's like the whole gimmick, the whole comedy of it is like when he was talking about, watching John Cena on Saturday mornings, and of course John Cena came long after there was Saturday morning syndicated wrestling, right? Didn't he?
Yes. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what Saturday morning show that would have been. There was Sunday Night Heat, though. Gauntlet match for the U.S. title shot. Let's do this quickly. Truth versus Akira Tozawa. Tozawa beats him in a minute. Truth gets chased by the 24/7 geeks. Tozawa versus Ricochet. They do a match, and they trade near falls, and Ricochet gets the pin with his code breaker. This match was all right while it lasted, but it didn't last a long time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole thing, again, we talk about, okay, so Tozawa beats R-Truth right away. The rest of it, it's like you've got matches that you put them down on paper, and you put those lengths down on paper. I mean, it looks like you're going to have this killer show. I mean, you go in there with like Ricochet and Humberto Carrillo, they went forever. I mean, but I can see the mentality, of it being laid out, but it just backfired because this crowd, the problem is like, yes, we know these guys are really good workers, and they really were, but they have conditioned the people not to care that none of these guys win the big ones, right? I mean, like, Carrillo's gotten some wins, but, he got beat time after time by AJ. Ricochet got beat time after time by AJ. So that's kind of like this thing of these guys, they have not recovered and they're not seen as stars, even though they're, the mentality is as they are, and there's a lag time. And unfortunately, we have not cleared that lag time. And man, it was so sad watching this stuff not get any reaction.
We have Matt Hardy versus Ricochet. Fans were into Matt Hardy to the point when Ricochet missed a 450 and reversed a twist of fate into a cradle for the pin. The fans booed because Matt Hardy had been eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Humberto Carrillo and Ricochet. These poor announcers are calling the same match over and over again. These guys are stringing together some offense. They're gaining momentum over and over again. Humberto Carrillo, Ricochet, they went a long time, and it ended up being a very good match for Raw, but for the 5,000th time I've had to say this, they would have had a better match anywhere else on this planet. I can't handle in a 3-hour show Humberto Carrillo and Ricochet laying on the mat in a hold. And they just laid there, and they laid there. And Carrillo's working over his arm, which doesn't have anything to do with the match. Nothing. There's not one point to him not having an arm in this match. He does all of his comebacks. He does everything like normal. His arm is fine. It was just wasting time because we have to work a hold, even if there's no reason to work a hold, in a Ricochet Humberto Carrillo match.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. If you're going to go that length of time, you can't just do constant spots.
Actually, you can. I've seen it in 1,000 different promotions.
You can't when they're,
don't go that long then.
Yeah, well, they want.
This is not rocket science here. You either don't go that long, or you let them do a bunch of crazy spots for this length of time.
Well, I have no problem if it's done early in the match. The problem is sometimes
I do.
I don't.
There's a psychological reason for working over a body part, and if you work over this dude's arm, and then they just start doing high spots, I mean, there's no point to it. It's a waste of time on a 3-hour show.
The only thing I can say about that is, having been watching wrestling for 47 years or whatever it's been, longer than that actually, it's 49 years. Okay. I have only seen that for 49 straight years over and over and over again, and it never bothered me because that's pro wrestling. I mean, I grew up with every frickin' match being work a body part over, and then the babyface, when it's time for his comeback, he's 100%, and he works through the pain, and he doesn't sell nothing at the end. I mean, that's like, pro wrestling since the beginning of time. So that never bothers me.
That's funny, because I saw a main event on this show where somebody worked over a body part, and it played into the entire match, including the finish, and it was great.
Yeah, but
So it can be done.
Well, sometimes it isn't, sometimes it isn't, but it's not like a hard and fast rule. I mean, the hard and fast rule always was the babyface. I mean,
dude, I wouldn't even care if Humberto Carrillo worked over his legs, because it's Ricochet and he jumps. What in God's name does Ricochet do with his arm? Nothing. What are you working over his arm for? Work over Diamond Dallas Page's arm, because he uses his arm for the diamond cutter.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, the problem isn't what they did. The problem was that this
what they didn't do.
No, it says this crowd. It was the crowd. The crowd was like this in every match. When Rey Mysterio,
they were in this for every match, but every time these guys did a high spot, they got into the high spot because it's Ricochet and Humberto Carrillo. They want to see dudes flying around.
They were doing a million flying things.
They did 5% flying and 95% not flying.
When they were out
for a long time,
when they were doing stuff at the finish, they're exchanging big moves. The crowd's
the last 5% of the match.
It doesn't matter. This crowd was dead. It was, and if you have a hot crowd, you can do that. If you have a dead crowd.
Dave, you're not going to have a hot crowd 2 hours into a show when you've had nothing but nothing happening matches in a gauntlet. This was 45 minutes into a gauntlet where nothing happened.
Okay, they also, in that first match with Gallows and Anderson, the crowd was with the Viking Raiders. The crowd was dead, and they had a very nice match. This is a crowd issue. It's like if those guys, it's like you're.
Didn't you just talk the other day? You did just talk the other day about how people say it's a crowd issue, but somehow on these AEW shows where I've seen one rest hold in 11 weeks of television, somehow, with these crazy matches with the Young Bucks and everybody else, they happen to have a great crowd every week. Meanwhile, we got this promotion here where we're going to take Humberto Carrillo and Ricochet and have them do nothing 45 minutes into a gauntlet for 80% of the match, and you can't figure out why the crowd's dead? But there's nothing to get into.
That happens in NXT all the time, and they have hot crowds. That's just a matter of, they have, for whatever reason, why they do this, I don't know. Why people buy tickets to go to Raw and then decide they're going to be bored during Raw. I mean, I don't know, but it's like, this is Major League Wrestling and this is Raw, and Raw's coming to our town.
Dude, I turn on Raw, I don't expect to be bored, but I get bored. But we're not in,
whatever it is.
Just like the fans get bored.
Yeah, but the thing is, it was like this from the start. It wasn't like this was this really hot crowd, and then all of a sudden two guys go out there, put on, some rest holds or whatever, and then all of a sudden they kill the crowd. This, like if they killed the crowd, and I've seen that happen a zillion times too, that's one thing. This was not that. These guys, there was nothing that they could do. They went out there and did nothing but high flying, the crowd wouldn't have reacted anyway.
I guarantee they would have reacted better.
No, because when they didn't react. They did that. They did that in this match. They did that in Akira Tozawa and Ricochet, which had no rest holds, was just two guys out there.
It was a minute with Akira Tozawa, who's been squashed for 2 straight weeks now.
It was there you go. That's exactly.
Yeah, so it's not the crowd; it's the way they put these shows together.
Oh,
you open with a rematch of a match that went 8 minutes to a double count.
But it's not the work.
Who's
in the
getting
match.
into that?
It's not the work in the match tonight. It's the fact that these guys aren't over to this crowd. That's what the problem is. If the guys are over, they can. When guys are over, you can get away with doing nothing. And that's the whole key of guys being over. You don't have to do as much.
Yeah, but if I book a random show and nobody knows anybody on the card, and I have two guys that sit there and do holds, and I have two guys that go out there and do a high spot match, I guarantee they're going to be in the high spot match.
Probably.
Give the people some action.
Probably. They did. This match was fine. But all these matches, the work in these, like I'm watching these matches going like, the work is fine. This crowd's not into it. And the reason is because the personality of these guys and the way that they've been booked is what the problem is. The people don't see these guys as stars. And, the whole thing is they're trying to get them over as stars, but whenever they get a little bit of momentum, Vince like chops them off at the knees. So right now, like everyone says, these guys are dead. It didn't matter if those guys went out there and did 20 minutes of high spots. It wasn't going to get over. I mean, it was like the people had already decided because nothing was getting over. I mean, we had AJ Styles and Randy Orton in the last match, and those guys' personalities are strong. And, I mean, yeah, okay, if a guy hits an RKO, they're going to pop for the RKO. But it wasn't like AJ Styles, because I'm watching that match last, and the crowd was dead for that match, too. Not quite as dead as Ricochet and Carrillo, but that's because AJ's been protected and Randy's been a star for 20 years, and they believe him to be a superstar. But even in that situation, if that match, again, if this was a good crowd, and of course, whatever it was, I think that that long Viking Raiders match was just not what they wanted. I don't think that this crowd had the capacity.
No, they went 8 minutes to a double countout the night before. Why in God's name would they care about this match?
Well,
why?
Well, but that's the point. But why would they care about Ricochet? Why would they care about Carrillo? Why would they care about anybody? That's the problem. Wasn't the work in the match tonight, because you had a lot of different types of matches tonight, and it wasn't like any of them got over.
Every single match was a WWE style match. Every single one of them. They were all the exact same matches. The announcers are calling them all exactly the same.
They're not hearing the commentary. The Anderson Gallows and Viking Raiders match was a nice tag team match that in another city would have worked. It was, but and maybe it wouldn't have, because these guys, they're not over great either. I don't know. I mean, the Viking Raiders are certainly not. They certainly have not been buried, because they'd only lost one match in their whole run there. But I mean, it's a weird thing.
It's all of these things, Dave. It's the fact that the guys aren't over. It's the fact that it's the exact same match every time. I listen. You've been watching this for how long? 47 years?
I'm not arguing that the repetitive nature of the style of the match. Obviously, you do want more variety, and also, I think that there is a situation where their idea of the you got to remember too. Their idea of there's only one way to do it, and this is how you do it, is probably not good for the audience today.
No, not in 2019. Everybody knows there's not just one way to do it.
Yeah, but I agree. Look, I watched Keith Lee last night, and I'm the same. But I was the same way. It's like, why aren't they playing it? And with Ricochet, I've seen so many live Ricochet matches. And in WWE, I haven't seen one that reminds me of the matches that he used to do. So it's like,
hasn't that been my whole point for the last 15 minutes?
But you know what though? If Ricochet had done a PWG Ricochet match, it still wasn't getting over with this crowd. I'm not saying that again. Like, could the match have been more explosive? Yeah, but it was that the guys were not over to the crowd. I think, it may have even been they came there to cheer Seth. Then they were, because it's Iowa. And because at the very beginning, it's like, okay, what's going to happen with Seth? Are they going to cheer him or are they going to boo him? So he goes out there and plays heel, and they don't know what to do. So they're just quiet. They were quiet for Seth, who they should have gone crazy for, or booed like crazy, and they didn't know which to do, so they didn't either. And that kind of set the tone for the entire show.
Finally, we have Andrade and Carrillo. Andrade just comes out, beats him up, gives him the DDT on the cement. The 1 hour gauntlet match is over without a finish.
Unbelievable.
I know you've been watching this for 47 years, and you have far more tolerance than a lot of people, including myself. Every week, there's something where if this were not my job, that's the last straw. And this was just another one of them. This is why there's 2 million people watching this show now, and that's it.
Well, that's still more than other shows.
Come on.
But no, look, there's no defending the idea that they did that. It felt when it was over like at least, like if you're going to do it that way, you can go in there and just go, okay, next week we're going to do these guys in a match and they're going to do this. And maybe that's what. And now next week, they didn't do that. But again, at some point, I think that Rey and Andrade are going to end up doing a program. So, but then the problem is that you have to have Andrade beat Humberto, and that I'm sure that they don't want to beat Humberto right now because they've beaten him too many times, and he's Whatever.
Well, plus he wasn't
did,
beaten tonight, everybody, but he got his ass handed to him, and he was stretchered out.
But he did a stretcher. I know he did a stretcher job, but maybe
Thank God he didn't get pinned for 3 seconds.
Well, if he got pinned, then they would have to do Ray against Andrade, and I think they want to do Ray and Seth. So now why Seth wasn't in the match? Seth could have gone in there and gotten heat by being in the spot that Andrade was in. And just have Seth run in there and
no, it's even easier. You have Humberto win, and Humberto celebrates like he won the gauntlet, and then we find out that Seth weaseled his way in as an extra guy, jumps the guy from behind and beats him, gets his title shot. You screw Humberto. I mean, that'd be better than stretchering the guy out.
No kidding. Yep, would have been way better. And then you also could have a deal where. But then there's the problem where, like I said, like where you could do Humberto and Seth and have Humberto beat him in, like 3-4 weeks coming off of this. But the problem is then they probably don't want to beat Seth. So, on television, at least, obviously at arena you can beat him, but yeah.
So yes, after the 1 hour gauntlet with no finish, Seth does a promo, says, "I want Ray." Ray then says yes later. Match is on for next week.
Yep.
Deonna Purrazzo and Asuka, they showed some clips from the Mae Young Classic, so you wouldn't just turn the channel because it was an extended match. Asuka wins, and that's that.
Yeah, so my Deonna Purrazzo and Chelsea Green, who's on next week's show, my impression is that this is not a call up, that they just needed people to lose, just to give people wins. That's really what it is. And so these were the ones, Deonna Purrazzo and Chelsea Green, since they're in NXT, they have experience, but they're not being used at all in any NXT. So it's not like they're beating, Rhea Ripley or Mia Yim or somebody that they're Dakota Kai, that they're kind of focusing on TV. You're not like doing that. But, it's funny because it's like there's supposed to be 3 different brands, and now we're calling up people from NXT to do jobs, and whatever. I mean, it's just they do need to do this. I mean, they do need. I mean, the idea of one of the things that they kind of need, and this is actually the role that Tozawa's been playing, is that they need good workers. That they give a little bit of credibility to. In theory, that's why they gave Tozawa the win. I'm sure tonight. To lose to these people, so it's not just these guys like the guys that Eric Rowan beats, because that I don't say that's going to get old, because we're going to have having a lot of the latter actually, on next week's show and probably going forward.
We had a Charlie sit-down interview with Becky. This was one of the best things on the show. Yeah, Becky really says, last few months I've been off, haven't been myself. I've been taken out of singles competition, put in tag matches. At first I thought the powers that be were trying to bury me. Then I realized it was worse. They were trying to protect me. I'm the golden goose. They don't want that to end. Trying to protect me from Asuka. I don't want this protection. This belt says I'm the best, but I think Asuka's the best. TLC, Royal Rumble, last night proved it. I'd like to say something to Asuka. I need you. You're the one person I haven't been able to beat. You've got my number. I got to prove something to myself. This was awesome.
That had a lot of Heyman fingerprints on it, just because of the way his mind works. So I'm pretty sure that was a Heyman scripted deal, and she's good. She delivered it well, and the key to all that, when all was said and done, was Asuka came off like a big time major star. When your champion, who's really over and who is one of the hotter people in the company, goes out there and just pretty much tells you, this woman has beaten me and I haven't beaten her, and it makes it in theory it's going to make, especially the way it was said. I thought it was because when it was over, it's kind of like, wow, Asuka's rehabbed right now. I don't want to say 100% rehabbed, but she's rehabbed. It was really good at getting an opponent over.
We have a Ray promo backstage. He has no problem defending against Andrade, but tonight Andrade tried to end the career of Humberto Carrillo. And then there's Seth Rollins. He said he started a fight. He's shown everybody why we don't respect him as a professional, an athlete, and a man. I do think people respect Seth as an athlete. I think we can all agree.
Yeah, I think so.
Except Seth's challenge. Then we had Orton and AJ. Very good TV main event. Go back and forth. AJ puts him in the calf crusher, works over his leg and his knee, chop blocks his leg outside.
Yeah, it's really well worked.
Orton hits a powerbomb out of nowhere, hits the backbreaker, sells the knee. Fans are chanting for the RKO. Goes for the superplex. AJ ducks under, drops him across the top turnbuckle. Another chop block. Actually hits a quebrada, which...
And he nearly slipped doing it.
Looked like he damn near almost killed himself, but he survived.
No, he actually landed perfectly. But the slip, the moment of the slip, I was scared because I've seen, I've seen guys when they slip in that, and if they don't rotate all the way over, they can have a real bad landing. Obviously, Hayabusa's a real famous one. But he, it was a perfect landing. So
AJ reversed into another calf crusher. Orton fights free. And
Speaking
finally,
of which, I just remembered something. We didn't talk about this. I was scared shitless in that Viking Raiders match when, Eric got back suplexed right on the top of his head. But I guess he's fine.
Well, it wasn't a back suplex. He was supposed to flip over to make the tag. But for some reason, he didn't rotate, and he pretty much almost landed on his head.
Yeah, he almost landed head first. And then he was out. He rolled out of the ring for a while, and I thought, oh my God. But he, he came back. He did the run-in later in the show and everything. So, but yeah, that was the scariest moment of the show was that spot.
So Orton is setting up for the RKO. AJ goes for the springboard. Randy jumps, but AJ knows it's coming, so he holds up. Orton jumps in the air for the RKO, comes down, sells his leg. AJ sees him selling the leg, and he missed the RKO, and he goes, I'm going to get him this time. He goes for the springboard, and Orton hits the RKO on the second try. It was such a great finish.
Yeah,
it was the greatest. I loved this finish.
Yeah.
And so he gets the pin. This would have been one of the best matches on the show last night, but they moved it to Raw. OC runs down to attack Orton.
Actually, yeah. It probably would have been... it would have made a big difference on that show. That show wouldn't needed a match like this.
OC runs down to attack Orton. Viking Warriors hit the ring to set up the three-way for next week. OC lays him out, and the show goes off the air. 3 minutes past the top of the hour, by the way, so...
Yeah.
I don't know why we had an overrun.
I guess they're planning for whatever. I don't know. Yeah, they... Maybe... I don't know, because, last week they had to go off, right at that moment. Well, there have been, you know what, though? I take that back, because I've been getting the ratings and everything. There have been several weeks where they've gone about a minute over. And the thing is, I think I mentioned it to you once, whatever it is, those last, if they go a minute or two over, those minutes are one of those minutes there was down to 1.27 million viewers, which for Raw, for a minute of Raw, that's unheard of.
All right, so here's next week's Raw tapings, everybody. If you don't want to know what's happening, don't listen. We have Kevin Owens coming out for a promo. Mojo Rawley interrupts. They go 7 minutes, and Kevin Owens beats him with a pop-up powerbomb through a table. I guess it was a no DQ match.
It's a no DQ match, and it was basically a weapons match. I don't know why you need to do a weapons match with Mojo Rawley.
I have no idea.
It just can't beat him in a regular match. I guess the idea is that because Mojo has no cred, that the only way to, make it work is to have him do a bunch of weapons.
Then Rollins and AOP come out and they beat up Kevin Owens. Bobby Lashley beats Cedric Alexander 11 minutes.
Lashley I heard this was a good match, though. I heard this was a good match.
She wins with the spear, and then they announce the Lashley-Lana wedding will be on December 30th, as noted. Drew McIntyre beats Zack Ryder in 2 minutes, cuts a funny promo afterwards. We have a Becky Lynch promo calling out Asuka. Asuka and Kairi Sane come out for this segment.
In the Drew match, Drew beats Zack Ryder, and then he also lays out Kurt Hawkins after. So they're trying to get him up and rolling. Well, they always protect him, but they don't pull the trigger on him either.
Asuka wants to become Asuka 2 belts. Then Becky responded, anytime, any place in Japanese. Aleister Black squash. Buddy Murphy, squash, both 15-second matches. Then they stare at each other. Aleister Black offers a handshake. Murphy shoves him, so Black lays him out with the black mass from behind.
Mm-hmm. So they're keeping that feud going, which is good. I mean, I think it's, I think it's good. I think in time, hopefully in time, the people kind of like figure it out, because they did have a good match on pay-per-view.
Ricochet beats Tony Nese in 2 minutes. Charlotte beats Chelsea Green, 5 minutes. OC beats Orton and the Viking Raiders when Styles pins Orton with the forearm. So, 1-1. Eric Rowan squash in 1 minute. We have Rusev out for a promo. Got a huge reaction. Says he's thrilled Lashley's marrying Lana because he can't imagine a worse punishment. He beats No Way Jose in 30 seconds, then they dance together. And finally, Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins for the U.S. title. 8 minutes disqualification. AOP runs in. They beat up Rey, and they put him through the table. Samoa Joe stands up. He's ready for a fight. Turns babyface. AOP attacks, beats him. Seth hits a stomp on Rey on the stage. AOP puts Joe through the announcer's table with the combo powerbomb. Looked like Joe hit his head on the support portion of the table. That sounds like it sucks. And that's how the show ends.
So, probably Rey Mysterio and Samoa Joe against AOP coming up. Rey Mysterio is like, the one thing is when Rey Mysterio did the promo tonight, it was like, it's so funny to me that the most over baby face on Raw right now is Rey Mysterio. It's just like, how many times that they've like given up on him. But I mean, he did get completely rejuvenated with the Lesnar thing, even though he ended up losing to Lesnar. His promo, and his promos have been great. And yeah, every time he talks and everything, it's like he's a babyface that people can get behind.
Well, we had a Raw show, and it was taped, and it was there. It existed.
Yeah.
It wasn't offensive or anything. It was just there.
It was just there. I thought that the angle, the whole show really built towards the AOP taking out Samoa Joe. And throughout the show, Samoa Joe was on commentary. There were hints, or not even hints, but, I mean, in hindsight, there were hints throughout the entire show. And if you knew what the angle was, well, then you knew they were hints. And obviously I did. But if you were not following it like that, I liked it a lot because the whole show built to it, but you didn't know that the whole show was building to it until it happened. And then when it happened, it's like, wow, this whole show built to this. So it was really well done. That was to me
Dude, it wasn't even that. Joe started talking about this stuff a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. About the guys holding the leg locks too long and everything.
He's been building this up for 3 weeks now.
Yeah, but he built it up much harder from about the early part of the show. And yeah. So looks like we're going to have Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe against the AOP feud. Or maybe a 3-way, maybe with Mysterio as the third guy against the AOP and Seth Rollins. Looks like that's going to be like the top Raw program. Now, what's interesting is Lesnar should be coming back soon. I wonder who's left for him. If that's the other program.
I don't know. So the show up was with Kevin Owens coming out for his promo, and Mojo Rawley interrupts, and they go back and forth for a while, and they do a no DQ match. And for what it was good. I think the taping said 8 minutes. Didn't feel like 8 minutes. Just basically a simple match, a lot of heat. Kevin Owens makes a comeback. Mojo tries to put him through a table. Kevin hits a stunner. Pop-up powerbomb through the table, pins him with his knee on the chest.
It was 6.5 minutes.
A fun match. Fun 6.5-minute match.
It was fine. It was fine, yeah.
So afterwards, Owens cuts another promo, and he says, I want Seth and AOP to come out right now and fight. And they're watching on a monitor backstage.
Why is he, does he insist on constantly getting beat up?
Since you're just jumping to the point, let's get to the point here, okay? There were 2 angles on this show with large dudes in the AOP. One was with Kevin Owens, and one was with Samoa Joe. The Kevin Owens angle, Kevin Owens stands in the middle of the ring. He asks 3 men to come out and fight him by himself. The 3 guys are walking. They're watching backstage on the monitor, and Seth is like, he's shaking his head. Like, my God, this guy, what an idiot. So he goes out there with AOP. They beat the hell out of Kevin Owens. They destroy him. They stomp a mud hole in him. Seth hits him with a curb stomp. Seth goes backstage, and I'm just sitting there thinking, why am I supposed to have any sympathy for this Kevin Owens character?
He asked for it.
Yeah, this guy asked for it. He asked for an unfair fight with no plan, no backup.
No backup.
They come out and beat his ass, and it's like, you got what you deserve, dude. And then later in the show...
The idea is, because he did explain it, is that he knew backstage they were going to do it, so he might as well do it in front of everyone so the fans can at least be entertained, which I thought was a very interesting way of looking at it and explaining it.
A very dumb way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Now, at the end of the show...
Why doesn't he just recruit some friends or get a chair or something?
So as soon as this is over, by the way, they go to Samoa Joe, and Joe says, I've been trying to tell you people, you need to start listening to me. What we're seeing now is something you need to be afraid of. These men, they're not even bad men. I was a bad man. My dad was a bad man. These men are thugs. You have to deal with people like this by attacking first. If you let them tell the story, it's going to get real dark around here. So he's already building it up. Mm-hmm. He's been talking about this for weeks. At the end of the show, the big angle is they destroy Rey Mysterio. They drag him up the stage. They're going to put him through a table. They tell Joe to get out of the way. Joe says, I'm not getting out of the way. They say, get out of the way. He says, I'm here doing my job. And if I stand up, it's not to get out of the way. It's to kick your ass. And so they stand there. He stands up. And
they beat him up.
They do end up beating him up. But like the point is, he didn't ask for that fight. He's just trying to do his job. He was bullied. He stood up for himself. And they beat him up 3-on-1. That's a guy I can feel sympathy for. Not Kevin Owens.
Yeah. Well, they're going to be a tag team, so hopefully Joe's sympathy wears off on Kevin Owens. And, I thought that was a good angle. The crowd seemed to get into it. It's hard to know what the crowd didn't get into because, obviously, the show was taped a week ago, and it was not very heated at all. You know, in live, the crowd was way too tired because they just seen. Imagine this: you watch a 3-hour Raw. And then you've got another Raw, which they got through in about 2.5 hours. So, and the first 3-hour Raw, if you remember from last week, was not a very exciting show. So talk about, and the crowd was dead the whole show. And this was deader than the first week, but it didn't feel quite as dead. And I think that's because
they probably did a little bit of sweetening.
They did some sweetening. So, but when they did the Joe thing, it sounded like the crowd was going crazy, which either they were or they did a good job of sweetening it, whatever.
All I know is I know they're not going to do this, but I watched this show and I thought, you guys need to tape every show and sweeten it. Because this, I watched some of these Raw shows, I'm ready to fall asleep because this crowd's so dead.
They're not.
This one, at least, they felt like they were a little more alive. Help the show.
Think they're going to be under 2 million?
Oh, man. It's hard to say. I mean, it's not technically Christmas Eve or Christmas yet.
No.
I mean, people did go to work today.
Yeah, no, but they did 2,050,000 last week, and they have a much tougher football game this week. And this was a taped show.
There was 1 million squashes. It's probably going to be below 2 million.
Well, it'll be the first. Well, I mean, we always said that there was...
Records are made to be broken.
Yeah. I mean, they were running at a clip a couple months ago where a lot of the football season would have been under 2 million, the way they were going. I mean, like, for whatever you want to say good or bad about Paul Heyman, and in that role, the fact is that, and the numbers are, they had like 4 of the lowest Raws ever recently, but it's still well above what it was tracking to be when they put him in that spot. Because it was on the verge of going, look, it went from, being 15, 20% down to being a lot less than that down most weeks. Although last week was 20% down, but, most of the weeks it's been a lot less of a decline, still a decline. So, but I think that they may they may hit the 2 million. Luckily, tonight was the last Monday Night Football game, and then they've got, I believe that there's the college championship game usually comes up. I haven't even looked up if that's going to be the case on, what would it be? Let's see if there's a bowl game on Monday, or what the schedule's like as far as college football, but because usually it would be January 6th would probably be the date of the college championship game, and then like the next week would be the week it's in theory everything bounces back, and then we have the high period of the year through WrestleMania. But whatever, so most likely, like, this is probably like it's like we're not going to have record lows until after the next couple of weeks, and there's a couple more weeks left. Then that's as low as it's going to go until May, June, when the NBA playoffs are big, and then we'll probably set new record lows then again.
So next up, we had the Truth in Times Square vignettes beginning. Truth is trying to find The Rock's Christmas tree. Some dude tells him it's actually Rockefeller Center's tree.
It was Tozawa sent him a note because it was in Japanese. That was the whole gimmick.
Tozawa was there in Times Square.
So Tozawa's setting him up.
Rolled up Truth, pinned him, won the belt. By the way, for those looking for historical accuracy, and you're going to watch this show in 15 years, they never once told us on television that Truth won the title back from Kyle Busch. It is a whole story.
It was on the website told us. But
I realize that. But if you go to the network in 15 years and you're watching all these Raws back, God only knows why.
Nobody's going to be doing that.
That will be a hole in history that will never be filled.
Well, you could just look it up. But, I mean, if anyone actually cares about the history of the 24/7 title, you can't keep up with it anyway. It's meant to be a joke. It's inherently, that's the situation. That, like, the title changes hands. I mean, Santa Claus won the championship today.
We'll get to that.
Yeah,
now we had
he wasn't, there was a lot of, well, I mean, I guess you can explain all the logical problems. He is Santa Claus. You would think that he could get like his reindeer and jump on his reindeer and get to the North Pole before R-Truth and Tozawa caught up with him.
Well, the reindeer weren't around. That was part of his problem. We had Lashley and Cedric Alexander. So the match starts. Lana gets into the ring. She begins cutting a promo.
Yeah, right in the middle of the match.
Cedric's just standing there. She's plugging. They're going to be getting married next week. And Lashley should be working on his vows. She doesn't want him getting hurt. She says we should do a classic Greco-Roman match. She could say Greco-Roman, but not wrestling. They go to commercial. They come back. And now they're having a match. It's not a Greco-Roman match. And they just continue. And Cedric makes a big comeback. Lashley catches him. One-arm slam. Turns him inside out with a spear. Gets the pin. And once they got Lana out of the ring, the second half of the match was pretty good.
Cedric's good. I mean, he's one of those guys that's really, he was one of the guys that was supposed to get a push, and you know how that goes. It didn't happen. And, but yeah, you plug him in one of these matches and give him 10 minutes, he's really good.
And if you've not heard, there is a wedding next week.
Well, that should help the ratings in theory. Television weddings always work. So we'll see if that, in wrestling they have in the past worked. We'll see if it does here, because we know there's going to be some shenanigans. They never go. Television weddings, except for the ones that are real, and this is not one of them, they rarely go well, especially when they're heels that are getting married. There's usually ending up some form of humiliation. But Rusev doesn't care.
Doesn't care one bit.
Yeah, that's the one thing that saved his character. Because when this feud started, he was like caring, and that was just killing him dead. So you got to give them credit, because it was. And they realized it, and they changed Rusev's character right away, and they did a 180 with him, and now he's not dead, although he was dancing with No Way Jose in the conga line. I don't know if he was that alive either. It felt very, he's a guy, and they cheer him. He's kind of like this, I think they got like this mid-card babyface that people like, but they don't really take too seriously. That's kind of like, it seems like his role right now.
We had a Seth promo about what he's trying to accomplish. He astutely notes, it's not my problem, it's Kevin's problem. He invited us out, he picked a fight, he got his ass kicked. What were we supposed to do?
That was true.
For once, Seth is in fact telling the truth as a heel, true. And he's right.
Yeah.
Tozawa's trying to avoid truth, he gets away. Drew versus Zack Ryder, 2 minutes. Drew hits him with the Claymore kick, wins. Gives him the Future Shock DDT. Hawkins hits the ring. Drew kills him with headbutt Claymore kick. And then he cuts a promo saying, basically, I'm not going to give cliches about being the future, but I will make it clear 2020 belongs to Drew McIntyre.
He also said that he wanted to talk to Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins, who are laying there, and just goes that they're not able to talk, but they would say, if they could talk, about how he is equally as wise as he is jacked. So that's what they would have said had they been able to talk. About Drew, that is, not about Zack or Kurt. It's possible that Zack is equally as wise as he is jacked, too, for all I know, but that wasn't the story here.
Becky came out for a promo, does the same promo as last week. Company's trying to protect her. She doesn't want protection, doesn't care what the damn company wants. The Man versus Asuka needs to happen next. Demands Asuka come out. Notes Asuka's the only person to ever beat The Man fair and square.
That wouldn't be the case.
Well, this was from when she began calling herself The Man. She has been beaten fair and square many times prior to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only one that I remember, right? That like, because once they did that, they were protecting her.
Yeah. So Asuka and Kairi come out, and Asuka says they're the champions, mentions the Royal Rumble, wants to be Asuka 2 belts. Becky says, if it takes putting this belt on the line to face you, name the time and place. And in case you don't understand, I'll put it into words you understand. And she says, let's fight in Japanese. We have an Aleister Black 15-second squash.
You know that Asuka never said the time or place.
She did not. She
asked her, like, what, name the time and place, and she didn't. But it is the Royal Rumble, so yes. that is scheduled for the card. So it's the 1 year anniversary of when Asuka beat her clean in that match with the Asuka lock.
And anyway, they had the Aleister Black squash.
So they finally got around to it.
Yep. We had the Aleister Black squash. We had the Buddy Murphy squash. They get in the ring together. Black wants a handshake. Murphy just walks past him. But then he turns around. Black lays him out with the kick. And they will face off again next week. I watched this segment, figured they're going to become a tag team. I could be wrong.
No.
This was exactly how they started that Oni, Lorcan, Danny Burch tag team. Was exactly like this.
Yeah, but it's a completely different writer. I mean, I think the plan long term is for Buddy Murphy to be a big heel and Aleister Black to be a big babyface. So I don't think they're going to be a tag team anytime soon. And both be single stars. I mean, that's the idea. It'll probably get, I don't say probably, but there's always the chance, no matter what the plan is, that it gets derailed. Because it's a pretty high percentage when it comes to new stars that things get derailed. Way too high a percentage.
Telling me.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if Vince greenlights it or Vince gets bored with it. Aleister Black's got something, though. I mean, he always did. I always thought NXT had something, too. So, and Murphy's a very good wrestler, which, is hopefully that helps him.
We had a Ray promo, and he says he's been looking forward to facing Seth for a long time. Only wants to defend the belt against the best. And he says it's not just a match between the two of us tonight. It's me versus Seth and the AOP. Running around thinking this is their playground. Vows to walk out tonight as the U.S. champion. Ricochet, Tony Nese went about 2 minutes. Ricochet made a comeback. Codebreaker, 1, 2, 3. Just a quick collection of spots. It was fine, but it was short. Tozawa hid behind a Christmas tree. We had Charlotte versus Chelsea Green, who they gave a full superstar entrance to. She came out second. She posed. She did the whole 9 yards. And
they gave her a lot for someone who was essentially there to be enhancement talent. But I mean, the whole thing with her and Deonna Purrazzo from last week was, they didn't want them to be like squash people, like Tony Nese was. It was kind of like, it was sort of like, I guess you would call it a tryout in the sense they're going to lose, but if you show something, maybe it's a break. It's not necessarily a break, but maybe. And so they didn't want to just like beat her like it was nobody. And they wanted Charlotte beating somebody important, rather than just winning a squash.
We had, so anyway, figure 8 for the submission. After Charlotte sold a lot in this match, is noted.
So, yeah, she gave her a lot of offense.
Santa hit Tozawa with his sack, pinned him, and won the title. Santa is the new 24/7 champion.
Only short term.
Yes. We had another Liv Morgan video. And then AJ and the OC versus Orton and the Viking Raiders. AJ and Randy Orton are just so great. Just this played off their match last week. Randy Orton, who sold his leg all last week, now his leg is taped up, still bothering him in this match. They work him over for a while. He makes the big hot tag. Finally, he makes a blind tag at the end, hits the RKO on Anderson. He tries it on Gallows. Gallows shoves him off. He grabs his knee because his knee buckles. AJ flies in with the forearm, pins Randy Orton. Good stuff.
Yeah, it was good.
It's the best thing on the show, actually, I think, now that I look back.
Best thing on the show was Ray and Seth, but it wasn't...
That was all right. This at least had a finish.
Yeah, it did have Ray and Seth did have a very weak finish, and this at least had a strong finish, and leads to somewhere, because obviously they'll probably be doing more with AJ and Randy Orton, you would think, coming off of that finish.
And Santa's he's trying to flee, and there are no reindeer, as noted, and so he leaps into a horse-drawn carriage. And so Truth and Tozawa decide they will give chase. They jump into a horse-drawn carriage. These carriages are going about 2 miles an hour. They're just next to each other, not moving and looking at each other. Finally, Santa says this ain't working. He gets out, he starts to run. They get out, they start to run. This was far beyond wacky.
That was a very bad plan.
Yes.
Because Santa did not appear that he was in nearly as good a condition as either Tozawa or R-Truth.
He was not in...
Or even the referee.
No.
So him like trying to run away from them in a long distance race was very bad strategy. So evidently he should have called an Uber.
Well, he didn't have time. He was in a hurry.
Yeah. I wonder if an Uber would... How much would it cost to take an Uber to the North Pole from New York?
A lot.
Yeah. But maybe...
I'm not even sure you'd find a driver.
What about, like... So where are the reindeer?
I don't know.
Because that's a big part of the story.
It's a missing key to the story here.
That's right.
Where the reindeer were.
I know.
Although, quite frankly, what they should have done is they should have had a reindeer... And then Santa flees with the reindeer to the North Pole. And then R-Truth just asks for the belt for Christmas, and Santa has to bring it back.
Wow. That's a good one. I like that. And then he gets it back.
Instead, he just got pinned.
As soon as he gets it back, Tozawa hits him from behind and takes it again.
Yeah, Tozawa comes down the chimney, too. There's a million ways you can do this.
Oh, man, the chimney now. See? They're going to be really pissed you did this. Because it's over. Christmas, the next show is after Christmas. This is the only week they could have pulled that one off, and they got to wait a year to pull this off now. Oh, well, maybe that's something for next year.
Rowan's talking to his pet. Street Profits do their deal. Rowan wins a squash. This is just under 2 million viewers here, let me tell you.
Oh, for sure. By this point, for sure. Yeah.
Truth pins Santa, wins the title back. They start yelling at each other. The ref says, dude, I've been chasing you guys all night. It's freezing out here. I'm going home. He leaves. Santa says, you guys are all getting cold. Truth says, nobody wants more Michael Cole. That was a good line. That made all of this worth it.
Yeah, that was good.
And Truth and Tozawa decide, well, we got no ref. Let's just go tour New York. And off they go, all happy.
Yeah.
Rusev's out for a promo. His gimmick is now he's the Happy Bachelor. That's what they call him.
Did you notice when also, so with Truth, when they were going, he wanted to find the apple.
Yes.
They're in the Big Apple. He was looking for the apple. That was like his goal for the night.
So Rusev's coming down the aisle.
Why they were? Oh, that's right. He was there because Tozawa tricked him with that Japanese
Well, I'm sure
message.
they were there because Roman's going to be wrestling there. They're probably scouting the area.
Well, there's a different brand, and they couldn't say that.
That's right.
I mean, they never brought that up once. Maybe they could have done like R-Truth thought he was Roman Reigns, and he thought that it was New Year's Eve because the calendar was read wrong.
So anyway, Rusev's coming down to the ring, and there are all these women with signs, and he's all happy these women love him. So he gets in the ring, and basic promo, her wedding day will be Rusev Day. So it's Rusev No Way Jose. Rusev wins in a minute, does a spin-a-rooney, dances with the conga line. I'm like, dude, I know you say in interviews that this is the greatest thing for your career. This is not.
This wasn't.
It's low on the list of great things that happen in your... Think about when you came to the ring on a tank. Now you're dancing here in the conga line.
Yeah.
Not good.
And they're going, yeah.
And then finally we had Ray versus Seth for the U.S. title. And they had a good match. Ray made his big comeback. And...
That sliding
sunset flip into the barricade. That was awesome.
Yeah, sunset flip powerbomb into a barricade, yeah.
So
it looks like that one could be dangerous.
Hits the 619, goes up top. AOP just interferes for the DQ. And that's where they had the angle with Samoa Joe. And the show ends literally with Samoa Joe dead. Ray has been curb stomped. All the heels are standing there, and on the screen behind them it just says, Happy Holidays! That's WWE 2019 in a nutshell right there. All heat.
No, in a nutshell, it would have been... In a nutshell, it would have been like a really bad segment. This was actually like the highlight of the show.
That's a pretty good angle.
The Joe thing, to me, like when the show was over, it was like, aside from the Joe thing, I don't remember anything on the show, but the Joe thing was really good.
There was not much else to remember on the show besides the Joe thing.
Yeah, it was just, getting, hey, look, at least it's trying to, they have guys that they're trying to get over. They, you can see them every week. It's Aleister Black, it's Ricochet, it's Buddy Murphy, it's Charlotte Flair, and it's Drew McIntyre. They want to get these people over. They want to elevate these people, and at least there's a plan. I'd rather, I'd rather at least there be a plan than just this scattershot nothing where you can watch and think that they got no plans. At least at least there's something going on. They're building something. They're attempting to start to build something for the future. I know, granted, every time we say that, it never gets there, but at least there's an attempt. So it was a show, that was there to, it was a show to build for later. Not necessarily the Royal Rumble, but later, and just get some people, hopefully like get some people in their moves over. Whether it works or not, time will tell, but that's the idea.
On Sky Sports ended with this Lana Lashley wedding. So let's not waste any time. Let's get into it. Kevin Owens comes out to open up the show. Recap of what happened with him and Samoa Joe last week. He says they've been running wild week after week. Every week he comes out. Every week he calls them out. Every week he gets the hell beat out of him. He's going to keep doing it every week, but he swears sooner or later he's going to take one of these idiots down with him. Says he doesn't like when their actions impact people in the locker room that he respects, people like Rey Mysterio. Says there aren't a lot of people he respects as much as Rey. Makes him sick to watch them gang up on him, see them stomp his head through the stage. Worst part is their actions last week, he believes, are why Rey lost the title to Andrade. They show clips of the title change. Talked about this earlier today. Obviously, they want to build up the house shows. When we talk about Sky Sports and 30 years of WWF and WWE, this was the year that WWE was losing money on house shows. WWE losing money on house shows. Last year, it was like a year ago, that Vince McMahon talked about the house show numbers and he said he had a plan. I got a plan to bring these house show numbers up. Well, it's been a year and we've seen no improvement. We've only seen decline. But clearly, one of the ideas, one of the easy ways to try to increase house show attendance, there are a couple of ways to increase house show attendance. First off, you got to make stars. If you have no stars, then when you run a live event, nobody is going to show up to see your stars because you don't have any stars. So you need to build up stars where when the circus comes to town, you've got to go see your favorite wrestler. That's number one. Number two, I know that when they advertise house shows, it's all about who's going to be there. Well, Lashley's going to be there, Kevin Owens is going to be there, whatever. But if you build up rivalries on television, and the only place to see the match is at your local house show, that's going to help sell tickets to the house show. Now, this worked in the 80s and for a while in the 90s. You really can't do that today because what match are you going to promote on a house show that you haven't seen yet on television? I guess you could say like Lashley and Rusev, but we in fact have seen that. So there's really not a lot of matches. There's no dream matches. It's hard to build it on matches. But I mean, in theory, like what they did with what's his name? Buddy Murphy and Aleister Black. You know, they built that match up for like 4 weeks. So in the 4 weeks before you do the match, you put that match on your house shows, maybe you can sell a couple tickets. I don't know how many, because that goes back to the first problem of you have to create stars that people are willing to pay to see. But the other thing is, if you can find a way to make people think, if I go to this house show, I pay my $150 to get the whole family there, maybe I'll actually see something. Maybe this isn't just an irrelevant time that doesn't mean anything. So if you do a house show title changes, if you do house show angles, then you got a possibility of maybe selling some extra tickets because people believe that, you know what, maybe something will happen if I go to this show. Now, I don't want to complain about it too much because I do like that they did a title change at a house show, but dude, it's Madison Square Garden. Like, the tippy top of the food chain in terms of house shows. If I'm doing a title change on a house show, it's got to be a title that people care about, which was good because it was U.S. title and Ray had it. But I do a small town, a secondary market. The smaller the town, the better. Because you want it in a town small enough where fans think, well, my God, that's smaller than my town. So if I go to a show in my town, maybe something will happen. You don't necessarily have to do that, but Madison Square Garden, I mean, you're telling people it's New York, New York, it's Madison Square Garden. I mean, you're not convincing anybody from Everett or whatever random town that you live in that if they go to a show, they may see a title change. You've got to do it in a smaller market. But they did it, so that's at least a positive. And they also did the angle with Randy Orton, where Randy Orton suffered an injury, supposedly, on a house show this weekend, and it got online, and they talked about it, and they turned it into an angle. So if you went to the show and you saw Randy Orton go down with that injury, wow, that was something that actually meant something on television. And by showing the footage and talking about it, you told people that, hey, if the house show comes to your town, you may see something that will play off on Raw. So anyway, point of all of this is they showed the footage and they come back and Seth and AOP come out. Seth says, I'm sacrificing myself for the greater good, trying to take this business into the next decade. Kevin, you've left me no choice but to impose my will. If you resist, you saw what happened to Ray and Samoa Joe. We will enforce my will. AOP will enforce my will on you. So Kevin attacks AOP. He gets his ass kicked. Seth wants to know when Kevin is going to learn. It's a great question. Lawler says this is not a smart decision by Kevin Owens, who is a top babyface, and he's right. And finally, at least this week, Samoa Joe's music hits. He runs down, he kicks ass, he pummels both of AOP. Seth challenges him. Joe beats his ass as well, puts him in the choke. AOP jumps him, and then Seth he jumps him, and then Kevin hits the ring with a chair. Somehow, Seth still beats Kevin Owens' ass, even though Kevin Owens hit the ring with a chair, and then everybody runs in and pulls them apart. Kevin does a flip dive off the post on everybody, which gets a big pop, and that was the segment. Joe is a great babyface. This was a great opening segment to set up a tag match a series of tag matches. But if you watch the show, amazingly, they kicked out everybody involved. We have Joe backstage with Charlie. She asks him why he would get involved in this situation. He's like, well, duh. They attacked me last week. I'm out here. I'm going to be standing by Kevin Owens. He's never going to be alone again. Kevin says, I've known a lot of bad people. Never anyone as bad as you. I mean that in the nicest way possible. Never imagined you'd be on my side in this fight, but if it's going to happen, I'm glad it's you. And Kevin says, I know they're going to show up and ask us to leave. This happens every week. But hey, we did what we needed to do tonight. We'll go home and think about it for 7 days. And security shows up. They throw them out. And to jump forward a little bit, AOP and Seth are backstage. Security shows up. They kick them out. Now, because it's a wrestling show, my presumption is that a lot of fans figured, well, they got kicked out. They'll surely be back by the end of the show. Well, 3 full hours, and none of them ever came back. They actually kicked them out of the building at the beginning of the first hour. Some of the biggest stars on the entire brand, we never saw them again. Now, the good news is we saw Buddy Murphy versus Aleister Black, and they had a great match. This was by far the best thing on the show. This was the best Raw match in a long time. This was the most New Japan-style match that I can remember in forever. I'm trying to remember the last time I saw a match on WWE TV that was more of a New Japan-style match than this one. Now, how they got away with it, because, I mean, the match was booked, but Triple H wasn't at the building all day, and Vince McMahon wasn't at the building until literally the show went on the air. So they just got an opportunity to, I guess, put the match together they wanted to put together. And they went out there, and it was this could have been not one of the better ones, but this could have been a good G1 match. They went out there, mirror spots, striking battles, all of these great spots. And what was amazing about it was the fans went crazy for everything. That if this were in any other... This was a match where sometimes on Raw I say, you know what? If these guys had the match anywhere else in the world, it would be better. I can't even say that about this match. This match was so good, and they would have done probably the exact same match anywhere else in the world. So good, and they did all these spots here at the end. There was a deal where I guess they had a striking exchange. Murphy tried a Kamigoye, goes for a V-trigger, and then tries a suplex, but Black turns the suplex into a brainbuster. He hits this brainbuster like 3/4 of the way into the match. The crowd stood up and gave them a standing ovation. There were "This is awesome" chants. It was so good. And Black finally hits the Black Mass. Murphy crumples. Black puts his foot underneath his chin, lifts him back up to his feet, gives him another Black Mass, gets the pin. This match was awesome. So if you don't want to watch the wedding, if you only want to watch the best stuff on Raw, if you don't watch Raw, be listening to this show to find out what to watch, go back and watch this match. It was awesome. Then we had AOP and Seth kicked out. And then the Vintner, Eric Rowan, is backstage with Lana. And he's very upset that he did not get an invitation. He says, "Did you misplace it? Or don't you like me?" And she doesn't answer, and so he holds up his cage and he goes, "Ah!" and he rushes off. It was just bizarre. A preview for what we were going to get later with this wedding. We had breaking news. Randy Orton injured at another live event. They're trying very hard to sell tickets to these live events. We had a Rowan squash. I don't know if they mentioned the guy's name. It was Francis Kipland Stevens. Another guy named Kip. That's 2 of them we've had in the last few weeks that are jobbers. Rowan kills him. Nothing to it. Lana's getting ready in her hotel room. She's bending over, putting oil all over her legs, boobs, and she alerts us that she loves herself. Are you aware of that, everybody, that Lana loves herself? Because if you're not aware of it, you sure were by the end of this show. They made sure that you knew that. Charlotte comes out, and she's cutting a promo. And she says, "I am excited to be in this Women's Royal Rumble. But we all knew I was going to be in the Royal Rumble. I knew that. You all knew that, she says. I didn't know that. When did they announce that Charlotte was going to be in the Women's Royal Rumble? I had no idea. She says, you fans don't want me to come out and state the obvious. Brags about all the things she's accomplished. Says she is the greatest of all time. Don't forget humble, says Jerry Lawler. At which point, I'm desperately trying to figure out. I need Dave here on the show so I can ask him, is she a babyface or is she a heel? Because that was a heel promo. But I guarantee 99.99% Dave would tell me that she's a babyface. But this was a heel promo. Then she says, who wants to come out and bow down to the queen? So whose music should hit but Natalya? And Natalya, the last time I saw her, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, last time I saw Natty, she came out, she was at the Saudi Arabia show, in the first ever women's match, WWE women's match in a Saudi Arabia show. They pushed her like some big giant superstar. She comes back the next week on television. She taps out Asuka clean in the middle as a babyface. Here she is. She's a heel. I know she's a heel because she screams, I'm a bigger bitch than you. She yells at the referee. She tells him to shut up. She's working heel. So they're doing this match, and all of a sudden in the middle of it, all of the 24/7 geeks run down, and they chase truth all over the place. I was pretty much done with the show at this point, and there were still like 2 hours left. Eric Young hits the ring. Charlotte lays him out. This is somehow not a DQ. Heads into the break. We come back. Natty's hitting all these big moves, German suplexes. I never can figure out why people work so hard in a match where we, the viewers, are told this is nothing but a joke. When those 24/7 dudes run out and they're running around the ring and they get inside the ring, your match is a joke. But man, they're working their asses off in there. And finally, Natty avoids a moonsault, avoids a figure four, but finally, Charlotte puts her in the figure eight. Natty fights, and she taps. And actually, the funny thing was, Charlotte's in the bridge, and Natty's just, she's fighting, and she's fighting, and she's fighting. And I was a gymnast, and I'm watching this going, Charlotte's just got to be pissed. She's holding this bridge upside down for a long time, because Natty ain't tapping. And finally she taps, and Charlotte wins, and I don't know why after all of these years, but it suddenly struck me, why is it weird and creepy when Bray Wyatt does a bridge? But when Charlotte does the exact same bridge, it's a cool finisher. I don't know. So anyway, besides all of the 24/7 stuff, this actually was a pretty good match. So Charlie's backstage with Becky Lynch, and Charlie says, Asuka's agreed to the match. Becky says, January 26th in Houston at the Royal Rumble, it will be myself, Becky versus Asuka for the women's title. And Charlie says, how did this happen? Becky says, easy. My contract was coming due, and that's what I asked for, before we ever started even talking about anything else. Charlie says, and this is a quote, I mean, I don't even know what to say here. It sounds like you're putting it all on the line here. What? She's putting it all on the line? What is her renegotiating her contract and making sure that she gets a match with Asuka as part of her contract? What does anything have to do with putting all of this on the line? Like, is there a storyline here where if Becky doesn't beat Asuka, she doesn't get her new contract? Because nobody said anything about that. But Charlie's question, it didn't make any sense. I don't even know what to say here. It sounds like you're putting it all on the line here. What? So anyway, Becky says I could sit back. I could sign one of the biggest contracts in history if I just kept my mouth shut. All the decision makers told me to forget about last year, but that's not enough for me. When you're the golden goose, you get the golden handcuffs. I don't know if I can beat Asuka, but I will wipe my record even if it kills me. So maybe, as I said, there's something here that they haven't told us about. Maybe Charlie just asked a stupid question like everybody asks stupid questions, but it seemed like there was more here than they were telling us, or they forgot to tell us something, or God forbid, maybe I just missed something, but it was weird. We had the same Liv Morgan promo, and then AJ and the OC come out, and they're cutting this promo about last week. AJ beat Orton, The OC laughed that the stupid people thought the Viking Raiders were unbeatable, but they're not. Street Profits interrupt, and they're doing their thing, and AJ tells them to stick to their shtick backstage or they're going to get their asses kicked. And the Profits tell them they're named after a teen soap opera, so the OC tells them to shut up, get in the ring, we'll kick your asses. So we get OC versus the Street Profits, and the crowd is totally dead early. AJ finally grabs Dawkins' foot. He gets ejected. Now, I know I complain about this every week. I will try to make it quick, but I got a point that I don't usually mention. They go to break, and they get the heat during the break. Okay, I know I complain about that every week, but I got more. I got another important point to this. Not only do they get the heat during the break, so we don't even know what happened. We don't even know how the OC got the advantage here. Like in a story arc, we don't even know what happened to start the conflict. It's just conflict has occurred when we come back. So we come back, we don't know what happened, but then they just lay there in a chin lock. Why can't you do the heat before the break and then do the chin lock during the break and then do whatever you're going to do after the break when there's action? My point is, they come back from commercial and in a 4-minute span, 75% of that, maybe more, was laying on the mat in a chin lock. Why was that not done during the commercial break? So not only do they not show me the heat, but they do action during the commercial, and then after the commercial, they come back for the chin lock. If you're in the building, you're seeing the chin lock one way or the other. However, if you're watching at home, on a show, by the way, where last week they didn't even break 2 million viewers for any of the 3 hours, so this is not like an audience-heavy show right now. They're at all-time lows. The audience live is going to see the chin lock anyway, so why not put that during the break and not subject your viewers to a 4-minute chin lock when you come back from the break? So we do the chin lock, chin lock, chin lock, chin lock, chin lock, chin lock, chin lock. Finally, Dawkins makes a comeback. He throws everybody all over the place. It's a good comeback. Breaks down into the 4-way. Montez hits the big dive. Dawkins hits a spine buster on Anderson. Montez hits the big splash, gets the pin. So next week, they are doing the 3-way match for the tag team titles. We'll talk about the lineup here in a little while. So Street Profits are doing their deal and their usual thing backstage, hyping up the show. And they've beaten the OC twice. They think that makes them... Well, actually, I got to make sure I explain who's saying what. Montez says, that makes us the best tag team in the universe. Dawkins says, you must think bigger. And so there's a moment of silence, and Montez says, what's bigger than the universe? And Dawkins says, we're the best tag team in the multiverse. Montez says, what's the multiverse? So then Angelo Dawkins has to try to explain the concept of the multiverse. And he gets started, and it's like somebody wrote him the dialogue, and he's trying to memorize it, but he doesn't know anything about what a multiverse is. So he's stumbling his way through it, and all of a sudden, he starts it gets slower and slower, and finally, in the middle of a sentence, he just stops. And there's dead silence. And Montez jumps in and says, and we've got a wedding tonight. And the OC, we've beat them. And they just move on. I was dying. I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but I was dying during this segment. We have former Raw Tag Team Champions, Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder, who in fact won the World Tag Team Championships at this year's WrestleMania. They face Drew McIntyre in a handicap match. Do you guys remember a few months ago where like the OC wanted a handicap match, but they were told that management wasn't going to allow handicap matches? Apparently that's been dropped. Drew comes out, he cuts a promo. He says, y'all think I'm supposed to be at a disadvantage here. He didn't say y'all, he's Scottish. I'm not the guy who should be worried. These men should be worried. He attacks them before the bell. He destroys Hawkins in the ring as Ryder is laid out outside. Hits a big throw. He's going for the Claymore kick. He goes, 3, 2, 1. The crowd's chanting along with him. Hits the big Claymore kick. Ryder gets in the ring. He gets laid out as well. And fans cheer as the sexy Scotsman, as he's called, Drew McIntyre, pins both of these guys. So, again, I wish Dave were here so I could say, Dave, is Drew McIntyre supposed to be a babyface now? And he could say, I think he's a heel. I think he's a babyface. I guess we'll find out. Brock Lesnar's back next week. Also next week, Rey versus Andrade in the rematch from the title change of the house show. And the Street Profits will face the Viking Raiders and the OC for the tag team titles. All of these taking place on next week's show. The injured Randy Orton then comes out, and he is on crutches. It takes him 2 full minutes to get into the ring. He's normally slow on his entrance, but it was 2 full timed on my watch minutes for him to get into the ring. And the fans are chanting his name. And he's very morose, and he says, there is a saying in this business that it ain't ballet. What that means is accidents, injuries happen. All of the guys and the girls in the locker room that lace up a pair of boots and perform, they're well aware of that fact. It kills me that I needed help to get in this ring tonight. I've seen champions surrender titles due to injury, including one man I actually respect, he says, Edge. He had to surrender not only his title, but his entire career due to injury. But I'm rambling, he says. Long story short, I screwed up my leg bad. I landed funny. Something popped in my knee. And I didn't know how bad until the doctor looked at the MRI. I'm going to be out a long time. And in fact, there's a good chance I won't ever be able to come back. So apparently the injury is so bad he may have to have his leg amputated. He says one way or the other, somebody is getting RKO'd at WrestleMania. So AJ's music hits. He comes out. He says, I can't believe I have to wait until WrestleMania to fight you again. Randy says, it's not the time or the place. AJ says, it is the time and the place. What are you going to do, strike? I don't think so. I want to do something I haven't done since I'm 5. He gets in close and goes, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. Orton says, don't do that again. AJ says, what are you going to do, stand there and take it? I know you weren't picked on at school, but you're being picked on here tonight. Funny, he says, fate bit you before you could bite fate, or me. And I'm going to give the people tonight here, I'm going to give them what they want. I'm going to put my hands behind my back. I'm going to let you strike. Puts his hands behind his back. Nothing. AJ says, I'm going to close my eyes. Randy does nothing. AJ says, man, you really are hurt, aren't you? He says, well, I'm a patient man, and I will wait until WrestleMania to put that leg in a calf crusher and retire you. So he turns to leave, but then stops and comes back, and he kicks out Randy's crutch. Randy's on one crutch now, and he's limping around. Fans are chanting, AJ sucks. Fans are into this angle. So he's going to leave, and Randy says, you know what the big difference is between you and I? You're patient, and I'm not. And he leaps, and he hits the RKO, starts stomping on the ground like Rumpelstiltskin to prove that his leg is okay, starts dancing around. He's not hurt at all. I loved it. I loved this segment. I don't care what anybody says. My favorite WWE storyline right now is Randy Orton versus AJ Styles. And it's all the simplest, easiest stuff. I love it. We had more clips of Andrade beating Rey for the U.S. title. We had a post-match promo from MSG. Rey says, looking forward to the rematch. And as for Seth and AOP, don't count me out. I didn't start this, but I promise, when this is all over, I'll be standing tall. I do not think that he will be standing tall. Andrade's doing a squash. He's about to hit the DDT, but Zelina says, no. Come outside, do it here. So he tosses the jobber outside. Guy goes over the top and almost gets he actually got his neck caught on the bottom rope, almost killed himself. Andrade's going to hit the DDT on the cement, but a Ricochet comes out, makes a save. This leads to a match. So Ricochet sells for a while, a couple of comebacks. Finally, they go outside. I swear to God this happened. Ricochet is about to be DDT'd on the cement, but he fights his way free. They brawl at ringside. He goes running, head full of steam. Andrade ducks. He tosses him high in the air. I'm talking a high toss. Ricochet lands right on his back on the cement. So he takes a backdrop on the goddamn cement. They go to commercial. They come back from commercial, and he's making a comeback. And he's jumping, and he's doing Hurricane Ranas, running shooting star presses. I'm like, dude, I'm sure taking a backdrop on the cement sounds like a good idea when you're like in your early 30s or your late 20s, or especially when you're like a teenager. But dude, you'll be 44 someday, and your back's going to be thrashed, and your neck's going to be all messed up, and you're going to be wondering, why the fuck did I take a backdrop on the cement right before a commercial, and when we came back from the fucking commercial, I'm just making a comeback like it never happened. So he makes this big comeback, and Andrade hits the Judas effect out of nowhere. Ricochet kicks out, goes up top. Zelina shoves him off. Andrade hits a DDT, gets the pin. Sarah then asks Andrade, how confident are you going into the match with Rey? Zelina says everybody wanted a piece of Andrade, but Andrade took them all out. He's going to beat up Rey again. Andrade says, this is my year. Rey Mysterio is the past. I, Andrade, used to be the future, but now I am the U.S. champion. It's good stuff. I like Andrade. And now it is time for the wedding. And what I'm going to do here, before we get to the wedding, if you want to skip forward 3 minutes, go for it. But this is the feedback that I got in my email bin. This is not a single text message to the text message line on Wrestling Observer Live. This is not a single tweet. This is not a single response to a tweet. If I went through all of those, it'd be like 500 responses. This is only people who bothered to send me an email to Bryan at WrestlingObserver.com. This person says, I watched the final 20 minutes of Raw. Undoubtedly, that makes the top 3 worst Raw endings of all time. First off, wedding angles are incredibly outdated in wrestling. That went out of style in 2004. Second, out of all the ways they could have brought Liv Morgan back, they brought her back as a lesbian for some LGBT storyline nonsense, a far cry from the Sister Abigail wishes people asked for. Further reason, Vince needs to go. By the way, before I read any more of these, Sonya Deville on Twitter does not appear to be happy. Sonya Deville very much wanted to do an LGBT storyline. In fact, I don't know for sure, but if you watch SmackDown, I mean, probably 5-6 months ago, they appeared to be leading in that direction with Sonya and Mandy, and it just got dropped, much like their first breakup got dropped. And now she's watching her idea, and it's Lana and Liv Morgan. This person here says, WWE opened the septic tank which overflowed into their Monday Night Raw closing skit. Absolute wretched television. Vince needs to fuck off. This person says, WWE, when an awesome match is closing out Raw, end the show at 3 hours. When there's a horrible segment on Raw, give it 10 more minutes of overrun. That's true. 10-minute overrun for the wedding here tonight. This person says, horrendous dialogues, terrible acting, nonsensical random characters, LGBTQ shaming, lame re-debut of Liv Morgan. That segment had it all. I hope Raw tanks down to a 1.5 so Vinny can do a dance. This person says, I'm not sure even Vince Russo in his prime could book as stinking wedding garbage of a segment as WWE tonight. I was stunned watching that whole thing. It went on and on, just would not end. 11-minute overrun. Don't know how they pulled it off. This person says, how the hell do I explain that segment to a non-wrestling fan if they ask me about it? I am 100% embarrassed tonight. This person, what Vince pulled tonight at the end of Raw was one of the most embarrassing and revolting segments I have ever witnessed. This person says, it was okay for the first 5 to 10 minutes, nothing horrible. Then it got progressively and significantly worse. Each passing second, guy comes out claiming to be Lana's husband. The one lady comes out claiming to be Rusev's wife. Liv Morgan, who claims to be a lesbian. All random. The entire thing felt it was done to troll and torture the audience. A nonsensical wedding straight out of TNA. This person says the wedding was so bad. Hashtag Lana Lashley wedding is trending on Twitter, and the response is the most negative I've seen for WWE in a while. Wow. There's a lot of WWE defenders on Twitter. Just check out my timeline. And they hated it. This person says, WWE booked that marriage segment on Russo's influence by pulling characters out of their ass. I could not believe what I was watching. This person says, it was worse than I imagined. I think they may have consulted Russo for all of this. It was that bad, worse than 2000 WCW, and after you watch it, I don't want you disagreeing. This person says, all those vignettes for Liv Morgan only for her to be a low-key lesbian wedding crasher. The wedding was beyond horrible and torturous. This person says, don't watch it. There is a solid 90% chance you will have a stroke. Think about your family. Well, I didn't have a stroke. This person says, I have no words. By the way, I'm still reading only emails I got after the show. I have no words for that Lana and Lashley marriage garbage. Insufferable. How the fuck did they manage to get a 10-minute overrun this week? This person says, Bryan, do not watch that Lana Lashley wedding at any cost, because if you do, I'm sure you will be admitted to your nearest hospital. 25 minutes of pure hell. Actually, it's a local medical facility. This person here, I don't care about AEW, but I think McMahon definitely hired Vince Russo. Russo booked that Lana Lashley ending. I am convinced. This person, all caps, worst Raw ending segment ever. And I think that's it. Those were all just my emails. So anyway, no, I'm not going to defend this wedding. I will say that there were a couple of moments during the wedding that I thought were cute for a moment, but in the end, it was fucking horrible. No, I do not think that Vince Russo was involved. You know what this was? I know that people say all the time, why does Vince hate us? Why does Vince write bad shows? And I tell people all the time, what Vince puts on television, for the most part, he thinks it's good. If he didn't think it was good, like, if he was just trying to do bad TV, people would give him a script and he'd go, put on TV, who gives a shit? We got a $2.3 billion television deal, who cares? But no, he rewrites it, and he rewrites it, and he rewrites it, and he changes things during the show sometimes, because he's trying to put together what he thinks is actually the best show for business, okay? Now, with that said, every now and then, he does a segment like this wedding. Lashley's sisters. Poor Lashley, by the way. That's another one he was involved in. But there are segments where they are designed to be bad. And they are designed to be bad because the idea is you won't be able to tear yourself away from the television. You won't be able to stop watching. And the thing with segments is, the longer the segment goes, the more people keep tuning in and watching. We saw this for decades. We've seen this. And usually it's with matches. Like, the longer a match goes, the higher the rating goes for the match. This segment was designed to be long so that it would hopefully do a huge number in the overrun and at the end of the show. It was designed to be bad so that everybody would be talking about it, so they would get attention, whether good or bad. You know, Vince sometimes sees violently angry fans, and he thinks it's funny because he believes in some cases that this outrage is going to be good for business. You're going to tune in next week to find out where this goes. You're going to tune in to find out what's going on with these people. You're going to tell your friends about it. They're going to tune in. That's why he does these segments sometimes. That's what this was. It was not supposed to be good. It's impossible. This was designed to be a train wreck. One of the only good things about this was the officiant. I got a local actor. He played his role great. He first introduces the groom, the almighty Bobby Lashley, which, by the way, in WWE canon, social media, almighty is 2 words. I have no idea why. Probably because they can trademark it. So he introduces the almighty Bobby Lashley. He comes out in a sleeveless tux to his theme song. Then he introduces the ravishing Russian Lana even though she is no longer a Russian, she comes out in a short skirt wedding dress. So the officiant is babbling on about life and shared blessings. He says, I speak for everybody tonight in hoping this blessing makes both of you better versions of yourselves. I was hoping he could bless the writing team. I'd like better versions of them as well. He mentions the pitter-patter of little feet that will be in their house someday. She says, hold on a second. I didn't put that in the script. I don't want little monsters. I don't want any creatures coming into my body that are going to make me all fat. Cut the shit and read what I wrote. The officiant says, Bobby, are you sure you want to continue? Like he's a ref. That's what he said. Bobby, are you sure you want to continue? That was funny. Bobby says yes. Which, by the way, what? Why is Bobby into this? Fans chant Rusev Day. She screams, it's not about Rusev. Officiant says, you have found each other's other half, and we're all happy for you both. And you have chosen to write your own vows. Lashley screams at the fans to shut up. This is my day, she says. It's all about me. I'm going to read my vows. I wrote her goddamn... I wrote both of their vows down, and I had to sit through this shit, so I'm going to read them here on the air, and you're going to have to sit through it too. My Bobby, I have to tell you that this is the luckiest day of your entire life, because you are marrying the greatest WWE superstar of all time. And you're also joining in holy matrimony with the greatest woman who has ever lived. You see, no woman on this planet will compare to me. Not even her small little pinky will compare to my charisma of everything. Whoa. Let me read that one more time. This is an exact quote. You see, no woman on this planet will compare to me. Not even her small little pinky will compare to my charisma of everything. I'm sorry that all of you are pretty pathetic, but the reality is that, Bobby, you have worked so hard your entire life. You have strived for excellence, to be the best at everything, and the best gift that you can give yourself is me. She starts a Lana Day chant. It's all about me, she says. It's my day. If you're sick of hearing, it's all about me, it's my day, I don't know what to tell you, because it's just starting. She says, every moment of your life, Bobby, has led to this day here. It's the greatest moment of your career, the greatest moment of your life, the greatest moment of your manhood. I just want to jump on top of you and make love to you right here, right now. Amazingly, she didn't say sex 55 times. She leaps into his arms, they kiss, and he puts her down, at which point, deadpan, the officiant says, Bobby, thank you for your restraint. That guy's great. She then explains, I wrote Lashley's vows, and he's going to read them right now. Lashley reads the following. Lana, I am really the luckiest man on the face of this entire planet. Not only because I'm going to marry the most successful female superstar in the history of WWE, but I am being joined in holy matrimony by a woman no other woman in the world can compare to. I have spent my entire life striving to be my very best at everything I do, and you're the greatest gift I could ever give myself. Here we are on the final Monday Night Raw of the decade, only 25 hours before the new year, and everything I've done in my entire life before this moment has led me to this, the greatest moment of my career, the greatest moment of my life, the greatest moment of my manhood. Lana, thank you for allowing me to marry you. Lana has another freak out in the middle of this about how this is all about her. Now listen, I know the idea is it's supposed to make you hate her. It's supposed to be heat. This is the Baron Corbin go away heat. And what's most infuriating about it is it's such a horrible, one-dimensional, shitty character. Now, I haven't been watching a lot of movies, but let me tell you something. When my baby was born on 9/19/19, I had to do a lot of sitting with that child for hours on end. And so I watched a lot of movies. I got back into watching movies again. And not only did I watch movies with her on my lap, but my daughter has made me go to Frozen with her 4 times in the last 2 weeks. And I've watched actual movies that actual writers, like real writers who know how to write stories, put these movies together with actual characters, with characters that aren't just one-dimensional, nothing-happening characters. The characters in Frozen are cartoons, and they're 3-dimensional characters. This Lana character is bottom of the barrel. Saying it's one-dimensional is like an insult to one-dimensional characters. She just goes out there and says the same thing. It's all about me. There's not even subtlety to it. It's all about me. I'm the one it's all about. On and on and on. It's the worst kind of go-away heat. As the ravishing Russian with Rusev, they actually were 3-dimensional characters. She's left Rusev, and now both of them have gone from 3-dimensional characters to basically 1-dimensional characters, especially her. So she's going on and on. They start doing the ring gimmick. The officiant then says, "Oh boy, this is the part I dread. If there is any man or woman with just cause why these 2 lovely human beings should not be married, speak now or forever hold your peace." Some dude comes out. In real life, this is EJ Risk, indie guy trained by Kurt Hawkins. He claims that he is Lana's first husband. He says, "Lana and I got married the day she turned 18, and then she left me for that son of a bitch Rusev, and now she left that son of a bitch for this son of a bitch, and someday she's going to leave him when something bigger and better comes along, because that's what she does." Now, I'm not sure she's going to find anything bigger than Bobby Lashley, and I don't know about better, but anyway, Lashley gets mad. He walks over in his sleeveless tux. He grabs this dude and he choke slams him in the middle of the wedding. I laughed. It's fucking ridiculous. This guy rolls outside. He's dead. Officiant says, "If there is any man or woman," he does the whole thing again. No one comes out and he goes, "Hallelujah!" He's about to marry them when suddenly a woman comes out. She says, "I am Bobby Lashley's first wife." In real life, Carissa Rivera, done some jobs for WWE in the past. Lana's furious. Lashley never told her that he was married. Wait till she gets on the internet. This woman says her and Bobby met when Bobby was in the military. It was so beautiful. I guess falling in love in the military. Lana punches her off the apron. Lashley's just gobsmacked. The officiant goes over it again. "If there is any man," 3rd time. And then he says, "Please, make it just cause." And we get the final objection. This time, it's from Liv Morgan. And she comes down the aisle and she says, "This wedding has to stop. I am so sorry. This just cannot go on. The love of my life is right there. I would not have made it through this year if it was not for our love. I came to the WWE a lost soul, a wild child ending my teen years just hoping that my dreams would come true, and I never knew that I could be myself until we met and fell in love with each other. How could you do this to me? How could you do this to me?" And Lashley's shocked and he says, "I have never touched this woman in my entire life. I don't know what she's talking about." And Liv says, "Oh no, I am not talking about Bobby. I'm talking about Lana." Now the fans go crazy. Oh my God. Lesbians. 2 blonde, they're out of their minds. She gets in her face, starts screaming at Lana, "You told me you loved me." Fans are going, "Yes, yes." They're going crazy. Lana's in tears, and then Lana slaps Liv. They both fall down and fight, and the crowd died. They died a death. And they're rolling around on the mat, and everybody's over it. All they wanted was for the lesbians to be lesbians. As soon as the lesbians started fighting, they didn't care. They're just totally dead. Geeks run down. They drag off Liz, and I swear to God, this crowd, it's like they're in a crypt. Deadly silent. The officiant then continues the wedding, and he's about to pronounce them man and wife when Rusev attempts to come out of the cake, He can't get out of the cake. It's like the Shockmaster in reverse. Finally, he gets out of the cake. He begins to beat up Lashley. After 20 minutes, like the whole idea is that the fans will go crazy for this. And they popped a little bit. But dude, that Lana attacking Liv Morgan absolutely killed this segment dead for these fans. They're just sitting there watching. There's this big brawl. I can't figure out why Lashley is interrupting the wedding when he said all he wanted was for her to get married so he wouldn't have to pay alimony. I don't know why he couldn't get out of the cake right after they get married. I have no idea why I'm looking for logic in any of this. And finally, he lays out Lashley with a kick. Liv tries to shove Lana's face into the cake. It's a cake. It's the softest thing you can get your face shoved into. Lana's fighting this so hard. Liv is like, shoot, trying to push her face into this cake because Lana's not cooperating. Finally, she gets her face in the cake. And then Lana slaps Rusev one time as the show goes off the air. This fucking sucked. 10-minute overrun. Absolute death. I don't know. I watched it, and it's just one of those things that I watched, and I thought, you know what? Somebody with a clue... I shouldn't say that, because this is written in a way... It's written for Vince. This was something where if you would have done this in any other company, somebody could have made this work somewhere else. But in WWE, this is what it had to be. It was horrible. I mean, it just sucked. What do you want me to say? So that was the wedding. Actually, that wasn't even the wedding. The wedding got interrupted. So it's possible, because this happens, that they've already been married and they told us about it on social media, but I haven't seen it on social media, so I don't know if they're married or not. I'm presuming right now that they're not married. But maybe they're heading to Vegas right now to get married. But one way or the other, that's Raw. What a horrible way to end the decade of the 2010s.